When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Good luck, y'all. Hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Maconi Entertainment, and welcome back to the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series. This is race number 22 of this season, coming to you today from Watkins, Glen. My name is Ron Mullins. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Jeremy Briggs. Howie Burrows is our producer for tonight's broadcast. Well, Jeremy, I feel like this is going to be a night of drivers really having their difficulties. I already had my own difficulties, thinking that I wasn't going out live because I had the YouTube live stream, which is about 30 seconds late, playing in my ear, and I thought that pre-broadcast going live ad was still going on. So I feel like this is going to be just a night of drivers and people, period, really having to stay on their A game to make sure they can stay on track for this race.
Well, last week it was me, this week it was you. At least we make it equal parts there. Exciting race here tonight. The super speedways of road courses, in my opinion, got these long straightaways, tight turns. I believe it's 7 turns here tonight. Going to be tight action all night long. Excited for this 82-lap event.
Yeah, really looking forward to ring in the final few races before we get to the end of the regular season and have to switch our attention into the playoffs. Now in the final 4 races before we get the playoffs kicked off at Bristol Motor Speedway, of all places, on September the 12th, coming up in the not-too-far-off future. The track's, of course, here tonight at Watkins Glen, Daytona. In about 2 weeks' time, we'll be taking a 1-week break after this race is said and done, but Daytona to bring the month of August almost to a conclusion, and then Portland for one more road course, followed by Gateway to bring this regular season to a close. Been a rather good season up to this point. We've seen a lot of different storylines develop throughout this point in the championship, including Adam Benefiel getting win number 4 for himself last time out at Iowa. Here's the points after race number 22 at Iowa. So we got Bryson Exenball not starting this race. He will be starting the playoffs unless Adam Benefiel has a generational run between now and the end of the regular season. He'll be starting the playoffs as a top seed, 7 wins, including the win a couple of weeks ago at Indianapolis. He is on track to be a very formidable force come time for the playoffs. Benefiel, as I just said, your current 2nd seed as it stands right now. Joseph McWhorter, Austin Evie, Lucas Hoytsma, Daniel Llewellyn, Charles Velasquez Jr., and Cameron Stone, all tied at 1 win apiece, make up the final 8 cars currently locked into the playoffs. Llewellyn may be able to go for 2 wins as he won the opening race of the season at Daytona. We'll be able to try and get that Daytona sweep done in a couple of weeks' time. But there's the battle for the final spot in points. Hunter Truex, currently the highest of the drivers above that cut line, 145 north of it. But then you look at the likes of Jim Shewfield, Eric Wineland, Kirk Mills, the 3 drivers above it. And then you look at Mark Padgett, 24 back of the cut line to Kirk Mills. Then you got Tim Phillips in 14th, 73 back. Kyle Amon in 15th, 85 back. And then Tanner Marty, 95 back in P16. That playoff cut line battle going to be intense. And if we get some more winners between now and the end of this regular season, Jeremy, that may be where all hell begins to break loose.
Still plenty of time for drivers to go in there and sneak off some wins, especially with Daytona coming up, that wild card race. Anything can happen, and the way these drivers have been each and every week, obviously the 2 there, Hixenbaugh and Benefiel, those drivers are definitely the championship favorites right now, and the field just trying to figure out what they can do to get themselves more of just 1 win. There's only 2 drivers right now with multiple wins, so all the drivers are chasing those 2 right now, and we'll see if maybe somebody can change that storyline tonight.
Yeah, so let's see how things are going to shake out in this race coming up this evening. A quick little look about the race facts and the race stats heading into this 23rd race of this season. I don't know why I said 22 at the start of the show, but I did. 82 laps is the amount that we have got here this evening. Stage is going to come at the end of lap 20 and 40. However, there is a random chance of cautions, as there usually is here in the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series for stuff going on. We'll talk about that a little bit later on here in tonight's coverage. 21x going to be the disqualification limit, usually at a steady click of 17, but 21x will be the limit here at Watkins Glen tonight. 4 tire sets, including the ones that you start at. So only 3 changes allotted to these competitors this evening. So they got to keep the tires under them, make sure they're running strong. I mentioned the fact that we do have those random chances of yellow, 70% chance between laps number 1 and 40, and then another 70% chance from laps number 41 through to 77. That's how it usually goes with the road courses. The same will be said about Portland in about 3 weeks' time. But let's take a look at the starting grid for this race at Watkins Glen here tonight, which is certainly going to be a pivotal moment for many racers up and down the grid. And it's going to be a Baja blastingly quick time from Jonathan Delaney to be able to jump his way up into the pole position. Cameron Stone, the Coors Light machine, going to join him on the front row in P3 and P4. It's going to be Lucas Hoytsma, the winner a little bit earlier on this season at Talladega. He's going to start alongside your top running driver throughout most of the season of Bryson Hicksonball. Looking right behind these racers on row number 3, it'll be Blake Coulter, the new driver coming into this series, and the number 40 machine will start in 5th alongside Raymond Root in 6th. And then looking right behind them on row number 4, it will be Edward Scherer Jr. alongside Charles Velasquez Jr., the juniors making up row number 4. And running at your top 10 tonight, Jeremy, will be Joseph McWhorter in the 73 and Adam Benefiel in the 83.
Just outside the top 10 in the 11th starting position is that number 95 of Joey Beck. Starting 12th, the number 69 is Kirk Mills. 13th starting position, you got the 87 of Eric Weinman, 14th, you got the 02 of Mark Paget. 15th, you got the 71 of Hunter Truel. 16th, you got the number 8 of Ralph Hutchinson. In the 17th starting position, you got the 06 of Matthew Boston Wheeler. 18th goes to number 17 of Kyle Ammon. 19th goes to number 29 of Tanner Marty. Rounding out our top 20 is the number 34 of Dylan Kritz.
Then looking outside of the top 20, we've got Cody Warner starting this race in P21. Noah Woods alongside him, completing your 11th row. Looking right behind these racers in P23 will be Austin Evie alongside Tim Phillips starting this race in 24th. And then looking right behind them will be Connor E. Cunningham alongside not Jason S. Taylor, series admin here. He's going to be in race control tonight. Daniel Llewellyn will start this race in 27th alongside Steve Benjamin in the 53 machine alongside. Rounding out your field will be Dave Hoytsma, the dad of Lucas Hoytsma. So that will be your starters for this race here at Watkins Glen. Jeremy, I know you're from upstate New York, so you may be a little bit biased when I ask you this. Watkins Glen, an absolutely fantastic racetrack, and I think tonight's going to prove that to be the case.
Yeah, just 1.5 hours away from my home is Watkins Glen, right up there in the beautiful mountains. Near the Ithaca Lakes there, and it's always a great place to be. The weather is going to be beautiful here in real life, and it's going to be beautiful in iRacing here. This track provides great racing. I'm obviously a little bit biased because I'm right on the corner, but for road courses, it's a lot more exciting than the rest of them.
I absolutely adore Watkins Glen. It used to host Formula One, used to host IndyCar as recently as 2017, and still hosts IMSA and NASCAR, along with a whole slew of amateur road racing events throughout the calendar year, whether it be the SCCA or others. This is a track that can put on some brilliant racing action. And here for race number 23 of the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series here at the Glen, I have a feeling these racers are going to have a fun one for us to broadcast here on Maconi Maconi Entertainment tonight. Waiting for that pace car to make the call to come down pit lane, putting the field now in the hands of our front row series. It's Jonathan Delaney and Cameron Stone up at the front as the green flag is out and the drivers are on their way, and we're racing here at the Glen side by side. And look at the dive from Hoytsma down into turn number 1, looking to make something work on the number 97 machine, already jumping his way up into P number 2, but Jonathan Delaney is going to be alongside him. Hoytsma holding on to the inside lines. They had their way off through the S's, up the hill into turn number 3. Hoytsma and Delaney giving us a drag race as they're about to head their way onto the backstretch for the very first time.
Side by side down this long straightaway, speeds up to about 170 miles an hour till the drivers turn through the bus stop. Oh, we got trouble for position number 2. The drivers missed the turn off the track. Delaney gets away. Hoytsma having trouble.
Yeah, Hoytsma, Cameron Stone being linked together. The iRacing glue not helping out these racers at all, heading all through the inner loop. But the bus stop going to be tricky for these racers. It was tricky for the drivers in the Truck Series in real life tonight. And it's certainly going to be the case for these Xfinity racers here in this 82-lap long race that lies ahead. Delaney, though, at the front. That's running wide for Cameron Stone through the second to last turn of turn number 6. He's going to drop down even more. Stone dropping down like a stone. The number 40 of Blake Coulter, he's running very smoothly at the moment. P2 as it stands right now. The only driver in front of him is your race leader of Jonathan Delaney, who completes that first lap right where he started as we take a look at side-by-side racing between the 73 of McWhorter and the 97 of Hoytsma.
28 cars on the track right now, trying to get single filed so we can get this run underway. So far, so good. Man, we had a really tight battle there up at the front. We were almost 3 wide a couple times for that number 1 position. But right now, Delaney getting pulled away as you can look throughout the rest of the field as we're right on board here with the number 97 of Lucas Hoytsma going through the bus stop. Oh, the car in front of the McWhorter getting really loose, doing a great job holding on to it as it goes through the carousel.
As we ride on board with Hoytsma heading his way out of there. The carousel, such a long corner in this race. These drivers will have to feel like it takes 50 quintillion years heading off through there. So frankly, these racers may have some patience snapping come time for the end of this race. But up at the front, Jonathan Delaney now building that gap to himself and Coulter. Now 1.2 seconds as we look at Hunter Trull in the number 71 machine, currently slotted in lucky number P13. He's got some very hard hitters right in front, including Eric Wineland, one of the drivers looking to battle for that playoff spot right in front. Jonathan Delaney, though, really in the groove as it stands right now. The driver of the number 6 machine setting the fastest lap of the race last time by in the process. Your winner a couple of weeks ago at Sonoma, looking to get another road course win.
Another one of the drivers trying to get themselves multiple wins this season as Hicksonbaugh and Benefiel, we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, have been the drivers that have been the only ones to get multiple wins as Delaney's trying to sneak one out. There's the number 57 of Cameron Stone going to the carousel. Started up towards the front, riding on board right now with the number 95 of Joey Beck right there in the 10th and final position. Behind him is Adam Benefiel putting the pressure on right on his back bumper. As we said, Benefiel, one of those drivers, multiple wins this season, always one of the names up towards the front each and every week. He's going to dive to the inside of Beck, try to take position number 10 away here on the front stretch.
Yeah, it looks like he is going to get, it looks like he's going to get joined in that regard by the number 87 of Eric Wineland. He's now side by side with Beck heading down the start-finish stretch into turn number 1. There's the move from the 87. He's going to clear him. It's still going to be close between the two. They nearly touch heading out of turn number 1, but Adam Benefiel getting that move done to jump his way up into the final spot inside the top 10 right now. Looking right behind, though, we've got ourselves a side-by-side fight. Trull nearly drifting up into the barrier there. He's going to get overtaken by Kirk Mills. Mark Padgett looking to follow in suit in the number 2 machine, that 71 car, with a horrendous run, heading his way up the hill through the S's there. Going to drop down like a stone thrown into a pond.
Yeah, Ron, looked like what happened right there was you miss one turn and it just kind of continues to the rest of the turns. Once you miss your marks, it just continues to miss your marks. And as you can see, the 7100 Trull lost a couple positions there after trying to give up one spot. Coming back into 14th right now. As you can see there, number 97 still in the fight.
Look at this battling, and it's still going to be intense. At number 97 of Lucas Hoytsma, maybe with a slightly bitter taste in his mouth as a result of what happened, heading all through the bus stop chicane right at the start of this race. It was himself and the 57 of Cameron Stone getting stuck together through their side-by-side racing, heading off through the bus stop chicane. You don't need to be a scientist to know that that usually doesn't work out too well. So unfortunately, the both of them going off the track, dropping down like a rock. But the number 97 of Hoytsma is still there to pounce. As looking at that was McWhorter looking to move potentially down the inside. The number 10 of Edward Scherer Jr. He decided against pouncing there. However, we are starting to see these racers try and find their way into some sort of groove.
As we're now 5 laps into this event, the field's strung out right now by 31 seconds. From first to the last running car of 27th spot right now is Tanner Marty there in 29th. So 32 seconds now separating the whole field. We got a ways to go here until we get to this pit stops. We'll have to see what drivers decide for strategy-wise when they're here tonight.
Ooh, as here we go. That's a dive down into turn number 1. That was Hoytsma looking at it at the very least, heading down into turn number 1 himself, and Joseph McWhorter going to give us a good battle. But that number 10 of Edward Scherer Jr. still there involved in all of it as well. Scherer Jr. made his debut here in this series a couple of weeks ago at the Chicago Street Race. He was able to grab a victory. So that number 10 car, very good on these road courses. So let's look at that car currently slotted in P5, whether or not he will be able to make a good charge at things between now and the very end of this race. Only 6 laps on the board right now, this 82 lap long race. Jonathan Delaney still leads. However, the gap to himself and the number 40 of Blake Colshare has actually gone down a little bit. Now 0.8 of a second, a little bit below that between Colshare and Jonathan Delaney. So we may end up having a battle up at the front in the not too far off future.
Don't look too far back from the Culture machine. You got the 63 of Higsinbaugh. He was one of the fastest cars the last time by. So we might have a 3-car battle here for the lead here not too far in the future. We'll keep an eye on those lap times, see if anybody else in the top 10 can put their face into this battle.
As we start to see these racers turn up the wick a little bit. Look at that, losing it a little bit over the curb there was a number 73 of McWhorter. I saw him a little bit squirrely heading off through there. One good thing that real life racers have over the iRacing drivers is the fact that they can really abuse the track limits around here compared to what they can do in the sim. You will see these racers try and do what they do in NASCAR and probably pick up about 15 seconds worth of slowdown penalties as a result. As look at that number 73 car, not having a good relationship with the curbs at all. Got a little bit squirrely over the curb out of turn number 1, and then you can see the bunny hops that he went through heading off through the inner loop.
You can see one of the areas on the track, the drivers coming out of that carousel, they have that kind of runoff area. That's one of the areas where iRacing's pretty lenient on the track limits, but as a result, it's very tight. Like you said, in real life, it's almost like they're not even on the racetrack itself. They're trying to just use so much more of the track to keep their speeds up. As we launch this battle right here, the 73 of McWhorter looks to the inside of Scherer Jr. Oh, we got contact. That's going to bring the 97 of Lucas Hoytsma into the show.
Yeah, and look at that. That's going to be a good battle. Here we go as they head their way up the S's through turn number 3. That's going to be some close quarter stuff between the 10 and the 97. Edward Scherer Jr. going to look to win out as they head their way through turn number 4 onto the back straightaway. It's still not over yet. And a look at the 73 hounding the back of the number 97. And Charles Velasquez Jr. along with Cameron Stone starting to get a piece of this battle as well. 5 cars all running in a train as they head their way out of the bus stop through the carousel right about now. Hoytsma going to be the second car in all of this. Scherer Jr., the lead car of this small little train that we've got chugging along, heading down into the second to last corner. Will we see a move for the 97? We will. He's looking for it down the inside into turn number 6. He's gonna go. Hoytsma side by side with Edward Scherer Jr. as they head their way down into the final corner. And look at McWhorter trying to pick up the pieces in case these drivers have a little bit of drama. That's a wiggle from the 10. And here they go. side by side down the start-finish stretch into turn number 1. In a few moments' time, it will be a battle last late breakers down into here as they go down the gears. The flames shoot out of the exhaust. That's going to be Hoytsma jumping his way up into P number 5 for now, but Scherer Jr. is still right there.
Charles Velasquez Jr. putting himself in the spot. He's getting around Joseph McWhorter and Cameron Stone. The 9th place, number 57 Coors Light Machine, trying to make it move back towards the front. That's where he started. Adam Benefield starting to make a charge as well, as these drivers have had some great side-by-side battling, especially through the S's. It's a very difficult spot to be side-by-side. These drivers putting on a great show here, not even 10 laps in.
These drivers are giving us a fantastic battle as it stands right now. Hoytsma, though, I think he's looking to try and drive off into the sunset. The same can be said about the 10 of Scherer Jr. That battling going on right behind is bringing more and more drivers into it. Look there. Your final driver inside the top 10 is right there to pants. It's the number 83, the 4-time race winner of Adam Benefield. In the interview last week, as we looked ahead to this race here at Watkins, Glen, and had Iowa, our last round of the championship, in our rearview mirror, we heard from the race winner of Adam Benefield that he didn't really have too many high hopes heading off into this race, but hey, he's still holding on to a spot inside the top 10. Doesn't need to be spectacular for him. If you could just have a good day here, keep that car clean, and keep that momentum rolling as the second seed before we hit those playoffs, I think it will be a day well achieved from the number 93 there, of number 83, I should say, of Adam Benefield. There's some drama going on all throughout all that. I think there may have been some drama involving Austin Evie and the 03 car. This was a little bit earlier on in the race, and let's take a look at here, Jeremy.
It looks like Evie was back in here all by himself, all through the bus stop, and just hit one of those turns just wrong, and hop, skip, and a jump, nosed it right into the wall. Right now, 7 laps down. Not sure the extents, but I did see some smoke. Let's look at the back machine here. 95 of back. Oh, same spot right there at the exit of that bus stop. Fortunately for him, though, he just barely kissed the wall with his back bumper, so just get it refired, spun back around, and back into the race.
Yeah, I gotta say one thing about the curbs around this track, especially if there's any section of the track where this rule about the curbs applies, it is most certainly heading off through the bus stop. Those are all or nothing curbs. You either whack them and get all 4 up off the deck, or you don't even touch them with a 10-foot pole. If you try and do the half and half and pop up the inside wheels like there's a pogo stick underneath your car and the other outside tires are still planted down, that's going to be where you spin off into the wall. So very important to try and manage those curves. You either just completely whack them and desecrate your suspension, or you have to run a very dangerous game. Look at that, and look at the grass already being worn down on the inside. I feel bad for the landscaping crews here at Watkins Glen as we ride on board with the number 73 of Joseph McWhorter, currently slotted in P2. Thought we were going to see a move from him on Charles Velasquez Jr. heading down the backstretch, but he thinks better about it. We'll say as well, Jeremy, already halfway through this first stage here tonight, so these racers probably not feeling too great about their tires, but there is some light at the end of the tunnel.
Surprisingly enough, with it being at a road course, it is going by pretty quick. You know, we're setting minute, 12, 13, 14 lap times right now, so you know they're clicking by pretty quick here for a road course. And when you're out here in the lead, like Jonathan Delaney is, you're feeling good, but all of a sudden you look in your mirror, and there's Blake Coulter, and he has been putting on some quicker laps up here at the front of the field, and as you can see, is now on the back bumper of that Mountain Dew Baja Blast machine.
As we still look at these competitors heading their way around the carousel, hopping the curb on exit, keeping that momentum rolling. Look at that number 40 car dancing around the exit of the final turn, having to keep that momentum rolling and having to saw at the wheel to keep that car in a straight line. But right now, Clotaire behind the wheel of that number 40 machine is still keeping Jonathan Delaney honest. We saw that number 6 car begin to pull away, but now he's got a newcomer right behind him, Delaney, a very top running driver here in the world of the full-length challenge series, whether it be here in Xfinity where he already has a win, or whether it be over on the NASCAR Cup Series side of things where he is by far one of the top drivers, currently seated P2 in the playoffs, heading into tomorrow night's race here at Maconi Entertainment at Watkins Glen. He's a good racer. He won the FLCC 600 here in 2025, but here on the road courses, he looks to try and keep that strong number 6 up there. But right now, he's still got that pressure, and I don't think he'll be alone for much longer, as Bryson Hicksonball is a little bit farther back, but Hicksonball is one of those drivers. He looms over this field like the shadow of a windmill.
As we take a look at this battle once again, 6th through 10th. Cameron Stone just inside the top 10. A couple cars right there in front of him, trying to pick and choose his way, which way he wants to get around them. The braking points for each driver might be just a hair different, and sometimes you get off your marks. Right now, so far so good for this battle. We'll have to see if anybody decides if they want to push it hard or just kind of finish this first stage out right where they're at.
Yeah, so let's see who's going to potentially turn up the wick, who is going to decide against it here in the opening stage of the 23rd race of the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series season here in 2025. And if you're enjoying tonight's action here on Maconi Entertainment, how about you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. But the action's still intense all throughout this field. Let's follow the number 73. That right there is Joseph McWhorter. The driver of the number 73 car was able to grab his one win thus far this season at a track not too terribly far south of this. It was a 2.5-mile oval of Pocono where we saw that number 73 machine back it into victory lane. It was McWhorter in a late race duel with himself and the number 83 of Adam Benefield, getting the upper hand in that race, able to lock himself into the playoffs in style as well. But ever since then, McWhorter, I've seen a new leaf get turned on his season. However, with the yin of good results comes the yang of some bad ones. He's looking to get a good run here at Watkins Glen. Even if it's firmly inside the top 10 and running throughout this race incident-free, that would still be a successful evening. As we take a look at the number 97, that right there is Dave Hoytsma, heading his way down the second back straightaway, as I like to call it, right before the final turn. And that right there is what we like to call a money shift.
Yes, it is. Great call there, Ronnie. You can exactly see just that. Must have downshifted just a little too far and blew it right up. Let's get about Dave Hoytsma out of the race. He'll finish tonight, P27, excuse me.
Has Tanner Marty had a similar moment? I don't believe so. I think he just locked up the rears and locked them up all four heading down in there. That's one thing about these Xfinity cars that is much different than the next-gen FLCC Cup race that we've got later on this weekend here on Maconi Entertainment. Those cars, much different transmissions. You've got basically a GT3 car that can also run on an oval in the form of those next-gen cars. Here, though, you've got traditional stock cars. You got that 4-speed H pattern. These racers are going to have to heel-toe it around this track all throughout this race and also manage those braking zones. If there's any spot of a road course that is the most challenging in a car like this, it has got to be the braking zones. Not only do you have to worry about locking up a wheel, you also have to worry about either money shifting the motor or hopping the rear axle big time down in there. And that's the reason why going for a move off into turn number 1, like we nearly saw for Charles Velasquez Jr. on Edward Scherer Jr., can work, but sometimes it's better just to back out of it.
Look at this battle right here on the track. Velasquez Jr. really got his car really good through those S's. Looking to the right side of Scherer Jr. He's going to try and break it in hard. He cannot get there. Scherer Jr. number 10 pulls away here through the bus stops. I believe Velasquez might be faster. Just trying to find the right time to make that pass. Got to keep the momentum up on the exits, so when you do get to that braking zone and you're trying to outbrake your competitor, you don't have so far to go and potentially put yourself at risk of either downshifting too much, as we got the look to the left, not going to be able to get there, or you get kind of like a wheel hop where you downshift too early and the rear tires start hopping. As we are side by side into turn 7 onto the straightaway. Can Velasquez get it here into turn 1?
And here they go, heading their way through that start-finish straightaway down into turn number 1. This downhill run, so easy to overshoot it big time. Look at the number 64. He's going to overshoot it down in there. Here comes the 10. He's back on the inside. They're going to be side by side, heading their way up the S's through into turn number 2 right now. Look at that number 10 of Scherer Jr. and the 64 of Velasquez Jr. 64. Velasquez backing out of it there. So Scherer Jr. going to hold on to that spot. These two racers that we got on screen right now, of the 5 that we've got on screen right now, they shared the same starting row together. They shared that 4th row, but right now they're still running firmly inside the top 10 and keeping strong as it stands right now. The driver of the 10 really putting on a good performance, but all of that drama and all that battling and the smoke and mirrors of all that stuff going on, Lucas Hoytsma has smoked past everybody. He's now holding on to a 4.5 second gap between himself and Edward Scherer Jr. and is also starting to apply some pressure to the 91 of Raymond Root right in front. Oh, a pit stop. Lucas Hoytsma trying to flip the stage. Here we go.
Hoytsma doing some strategy here. Coming down. We'll see if anybody else decides any type of strategy like this. I was getting ready to say there, Raymond Root in 4th, we haven't talked too much about tonight. Doing a good job holding on to it there in that number 91 machine. As Hoytsma comes to the attention of his iRacing pit crew.
So that is a rather interesting call. Right as we were talking about that driver just absolutely cooking it as it stands right now. Trying to throw an interesting strategy at the wall to see if it will stick between now and the end of this race. We'll certainly be keeping tabs on that all throughout tonight. Up at the front of the field, though, Jonathan Delaney and Blake Coulter, they're running strong at the moment. And look at that, the 6 of Delaney getting a little bit wiggly as he headed his way out of turn number 6. That curb on the outside, one of the more flatter and tame ones, but looks like it got that number 6 car a little bit screwy. This is a battle that we have been thinking was going to get intense and get hot between now and the end of this stage, and it is certainly there. The pits are now closed. We're at the end of this stage, and holy cow, look at that number 6 car of Delaney trying to buck him off like a bucking bronco.
Track temperature right now at a cool 91 degrees, mostly cloudy skies. You can see these cars still dancing all over the place. The battle for the stage win is really tight between the 40 and the 6 of Coulter and Delaney. Oh, we got a lap car in the way. Ooh, that was really close to 07. Did a great job of Llewellyn getting out of the way of this leader battle.
As you can see these racers running the distance as they head their way out of the carousel down into the second to last corner. That's turn number 6. The both of them banging through the gears. Look at that 6 car, though, really having to use those track limits just to stay in front of the 40. Blake Coulter, he's just saying, you know what, I'm happy about the spot that I'm in right now. I can do whatever I want. The newcomer to the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series, really impressing in his debut as we're on the final lap of stage number 1 here on Maconi Entertainment tonight for race number 22 of the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series season. And Delaney right there still holding on to that race lead, but instead of that 1.2 second gap that he had a little bit earlier on, it's only about a 10th and a half. They had their way onto the back straightaway. I think the 40 of Blake Coulter, he had to get out of it a teeny tiny bit, not really gaining a lot of speed down the backstretch into the bus stop for the final time. Look at them hopping over the curbs. The 40 with the full send, not going to work out too well for him. A little bit of a sideways snap heading off to the mid part of that chicane. He's now going to have to hope for a dream run through the final few corners to get this stage win. Delaney, though, holding on to it, the full-time cup racer here in the FLC world, looking to try and grab this stage 1 win. He won at Sonoma a couple of weeks ago. Looks to get done at another NASCAR road course as they had their way through turn number 6. The 40 not able to get to the back bumper of the 6, and really this early on into the race, you don't want to throw it at that. Oh boy, look at that. That was a 6, nearly losing it heading out of the final turn. I was just going to say that the 40 was going to be right there and not really risking it, then I thought that Delaney was going to wreck it. I think he tapped that safer barrier, but he still holds on to grab the stage win, waiting for the final few cars to cross the line. Of course, that yellow going to come out once this car, the number 87 of Eric Wineland, completing your top 10, crosses that line. Looking out for the flag man there. There's the caution, and there is the end of stage number 1. Jonathan Delaney gets it done over the number 40 of Blake Coulter. He finishes right in front of Bryson Hicksonball, who grabs the P3 at the end of that stage. Raymond Root in 4th. Charles Velasquez Jr. in P5. Edward Scherer Jr. in 6th. Adam Benefield in 7th. Joseph McWhorter in P8. Cameron Stone and Eric Wineland around at your top 10. One notable exception, of course, is Lucas Hoytsma throwing that extra strategy. Now come time for this here, Jeremy. Once we see these drivers come out of pit lane, we'll get to see whether or not that strategy call from Hoytsma really worked out or not.
And Hoytsma, the only driver, I believe, to make that strategy call. So we'll have to see how that plays out for everybody else. And like you said, he'll have a couple laps on those tires, but he probably just putted around for those couple laps. As the field is catching up here with the field. Or excuse me, the field is catching up with the pace car, excuse me.
We follow Hoytsma heading his way off through the bus stop chicane as it stands right now. I am really intrigued to see whether or not this strategy is going to work out, because I think in terms of the performance out there on the road, Lucas Hoytsma, who is a driver that I will continue to contend, the fact he only has one win this season is a proof that bad luck can strike all of us. He has not really had I would call it the story out of West Philadelphia a couple of days ago, the filled-in snake pit at the zoo. It's terrible news for the snakes because they don't even have a pit to hiss in anymore. But that luck, the bad luck streak that Hoytsma has been on thus far this season, really speaks volumes about how strong of a driver he is. In fact, he should have more than one win, but somehow doesn't. I think the one that got away for sure was a little bit earlier on this season at Bristol, where he was able to grab the checkered flag, but because of a post-race penalty, he ended up dropping down out of that spot. So Hoytsma, very, very good driver here in this series. We'll have to see if this strategy call will work. I think if it works out well for him, we're going to have to talk about that number 97 in terms of contending for the win.
And what are the drivers going to do here for this second stage if it works out for Hoytsma? Are they going to take note and make sure they go ahead and pit before the end of this, before the pit road closes, closing in on the end of that stage? Quick update through the field. Steve Benjamin finding himself as the next retired driver.
I think I saw Benjamin into the pits rather early on into this race, and unfortunate for him that will very likely take him out of contention here tonight. As here we go. We have got the first round of pit stops tonight here at Watkins Glen, and let's see how it all shakes out for them. Raymond Root and Edward Scherer Jr. going to stay out here on this stage. A very interesting call. Again, 4 sets of tires allotted to these racers. Only 3 changes allowed for them throughout the entirety of tonight. So that is rather intriguing for them. Hoytsma going to shake out in P3 as well as a result of his call to pit right at the end of that first stage. But here we go. Up on the jacks is the 6, the 57 right behind. Who's going to play the game? Who is going to come out in front? Looking pretty good for the 40. Here they go right at the pit lane line. The 6 is going to stay ahead. The 57 not getting a good run through the pits at all. Raymond Root, I believe, will be your leader at the start here of the restart of the race and the start of stage number 2. However, Jonathan Delaney going to lead them coming out of pit lane.
We'll have to see how these 23-lap old tires work out for Root and Scherer Jr. Those two drivers trying to do some other strategy, maybe a 2-stop strategy here tonight. Staying out now, pitting halfway through the stage, and potentially pitting halfway through the next stage.
Look at these racers still under the caution here. The first caution, the stage caution here on Maconi Entertainment tonight. Oh, this is going to be bad. An end of line penalty for Blake Clotaire, that is going to be a huge moment for the number 40. I think it may have potentially been driving through too many pit stalls. We're hearing from our producer in the production truck that may be what happened. But either way, the newcomer, so impressive in that first stage. Now, instead of running in P2, he's going to be all the way at the back and will have to put on a huge comeback to be back in the spot that he once was.
It's going to be very hard to try to pass all those cars, but maybe some strategy here between these next couple stages may find that Clotaire machine and number 40 machine back up there, but not sure how many pit boxes it went through, but if that was the case, everybody else may want to take note of that and make sure they don't forget down when they come for their next stops and potentially have a penalty as well. And the pace car lights are off now.
And a quick little reminder to those who are just tuning into this broadcast here on Maconi Entertainment tonight. First off, welcome here to race number 23, I should say. Race number 23 of the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series. You know, I had that written down at the start of it because clearly my math skills not doing me well. But the race admins will certainly be doing some math. Yeah, the possibility of a caution coming up between now and the end of stage number 2. Race 223. Yeah, there we go. This is race number 223 of this season coming to today from the moon. But no, we do have the possibility of a caution coming out between now and the end of this stage. Now, this is a random chance yellow. This is not because of an incident. This is a race control, race administration yellow that can be issued before the end of this second stage. Of course, we've already had one to ring in stage number 2, but we will potentially have to worry about that between now and the end of lap number 40. We'll also have the same case in the final stage. A random chance yellow will happen there as well. But as it stands right now, you can see these racers now packed up, lined up, getting ready to get this race up and rolling once again, Jeremy. We start to see this race get a little bit hectic, but it was an overall clean first stage. Let's see if stage 2 is the same way.
Now these drivers have had the opportunity to get their feet warmed up, get their cars warmed up, get a couple laps under their belts around all the other cars in traffic, make sure their setups are good. If any drivers could come down pit road this last time and make any adjustments on their cars to try to be better for this next part of this run, we'll have to see if that plays out. Like we said, we got a couple different strategies on the track right now. First 3 cars on a different strategy than the rest of the field.
We ride on board with that iRacing Porsche pace car, heading off into turn number 7. Gonna put the field back in the hands of our front row restart sitters, if that's not even a phrase at all, but it is now. And he takes out the cone in the process. We're about to get this race back underway. Get stage 2 up and rolling at Cher Jr. and Raymond Roots on that front row as we're back racing here. Not getting off to a good one at all. That's a big stack up. Heading our way down that start-finish straightaway. Kirk Mills getting a piece of that drama. You can see the 06 of Matthew Boston Wheeler and the 71, that's Hunter Truel, but that is big for the number 69 there of Kirk Mills. A yellow coming out as a result of that incident. A huge stack up. One driver misses a shift and all bedlam breaks loose as a result.
Looks like it was up towards the front. Yep, looks like Truel. Man, just one driver just bounce. It was just, man, everybody's just ready to go so quickly on those restarts. Just happened so fast, and a lot of drivers with some pretty heavy damage.
Yeah, and huge damage to Kirk Mills there. I think it all started potentially stack up a little bit farther up the road, caused a 57 of Cameron Stone to check up big time, and then the 71 piles in. And then from there, it goes from the restart of a NASCAR Xfinity race to a round of bumper cars. Let's take a look at this from Barry the Flagman's perspective. Has that green flag in the air. It's like phasing through his fingers, so I'm not really sure exactly how that works. But there's a green flag, putting all the passion and might into it. And you can see as soon as those cars begin to stack up, that green flag still out. There's the cars wrecked, and the yellow going to come out soon thereafter. the more drama went on as they had their way down into turn number 1. I think someone nearly got pushed off the track. That may have been the number 24 getting a piece of the drama. You know, Jeremy, right as we were getting ready for the restart of this race, I said, hey, stage 1 was rather clean. Let's see how stage 2 is going to work out. That's how it works out.
Yeah. Already up to some hectic here. Look at the back bumper of that number 6. Heavy damage to that number 6 rear bumper. We are at a road course, but it could potentially make you a little bit loose if you're losing some of that rear downforce. I mean, almost every car has got some type of damage right now.
Yeah, look at that number 6 bumper of Jonathan Delaney, man. That thing is concave at the moment. That is about as dented as my own skull. So that is, oh boy. I gotta wonder exactly how he picked up all that. It looked like there's a whole bunch of beating and banging and roughing each other up as we're about to get that race restarted. But it has neutralized this field once again, 26 laps in to this 82 lap long race here tonight on Maconi Entertainment for tonight's coverage of race number 23 of the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series in 2025. Hearing about some end-of-line penalties. I heard Matthew Boston Wheeler in the 06 and Hunter Truell in the number 71. I didn't copy the third name. Cody Warner we're hearing as well. I believe he was a driver of the number 72 machine. Got a piece of that drama as well. Lots of chaos going on during that restart. No question or shadow of a doubt about it.
This field is pretty shooken up right now, I can tell you that. Been quite a few laps here trying to catch back up with the pace car. So a few extra laps here under yellow. Look at this number 6 of Delaney right here on this restart. I believe you look at that car to the right of your screen. Yeah, the two drivers kind of up front. They kind of check up with the front. I'm not sure what happened there, but both lanes just, yeah, it was pretty hectic there.
Yeah, hearing as well that there may be a little bit of confusion as to when the green flag actually came out on that restart that led to just about everybody getting their rear bumper caved in. I'll tell you what, there were 2 cars there that had some rather significant damage. I believe it was the 73 and the 64, 2 of the Team Conti teammates. I looked at those cars. You could see the back bumpers caved in, and they looked so incredibly sad. Yeah, you can see they're frowning right there. Those are frowning rear bumpers on the back of their cars. So that is what a sad spectacle to see those cars frowning. Aww.
I mean, and there's so many of them too. That's yeah. And you got that one orange bumper's kind of almost got like a scrim, like a grim there on the face.
You know, if you want to buy a damaged bumper off the back of a NASCAR Xfinity car, I think you have come to the right spot. Number 97, though, of Lucas Hoisma, along with his other driver on the front row here for this restart coming up. That's Raymond Roon, the number 91 right there. One more lap left here, so trying to get packed up still. When we get this race restarted, though, it will be the number 97 and the number 91, both with some rather pristine rear bumpers. There's the lights out on that Porsche pace car, so I think we'll be able to get things up and rolling next time around. You know, as we are still under this yellow, I'll share a nice little story of the longest yellow I've ever had to deal with in my life. It was when I was doing a broadcast of a 4-hour-long endurance sports car race at some track. I think it was Barcelona, Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia in Spain. And the yellow was 45 minutes long.
Holy cow. That is a long yellow flag. That's,
I'll tell you what. You can call me
an oval, so...
I will tell you what, you could call me the bendy thief because I was clutching at straws.
Probably a very long 45 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, 45 minutes for, like, this yellow may seem long, primarily because we had back-to-back. As soon as we got this race restarted, we went to another yellow about 15 seconds there after the fact. 45 minutes for a yellow, there are only so many times you can talk about how goofy some of the cars look. Oh. There we go.
continue
Did
to
you see
come
the
around
number
here.
6 going straight through the chicane
Yeah,
there, Jeremy? Was that just me?
That was not just you. He did definitely just drive straight through the chicane. Wasn't feeling the turns.
Yeah, just plows through straight. Alrighty, Jeremy, I'm going to raise this question to you that I did a couple of moments ago. Are we going to have a clean second start to stage number 2 now that we're nearly halfway through it already?
It's going to be, we're going to have to see what happens on this restart because we didn't get very far the last time. So let's see what happens this time.
Yeah, let's keep tabs on this. You know, I gotta wonder whether or not we will have that random chance yellow come out because of that drama on that restart. We are going to have about 11, 12-ish laps left here on stage number 2. Time flies when you're having fun. Time certainly flies when you have a big stack up hanging down the start-finish straight away. But we are back to racing here at the Glen. Good restart there from Root. Here comes number 97 there. That's Hoytsma trying to fight back on the inside line. We saw him contending up at the front on the initial start. Now that he's back up there, I think he's going to waste no time to try and jump into the race lead side by side up the hill. Through turn number 3, they're going to go. Hoytsma and Root still going to battle tooth and nail. Look at the number 6 there of Jonathan Delaney. He's going to be there drawing alongside the number 91 of Root. Here they go, looking at the field, heading their way on the back straightaway. Everyone keeps it clean through the first few turns. Down into the bus stop, though. That's going to be Delaney jumping up to P2.
Positions 3 and 4, those drivers have had those tires on their cars for 29 laps trying to hang on. Lucas Hoytsma, he pitted right before pit road closed last stage to jump to the front of the field. So far, that's showing as the right move.
Yeah, it looks like that tire advantage certainly helping out the racers who have those new tires. So one's on the old ones, though. I'm pretty sure you'd probably have more grip in Fred Flintstone's car side by side between the 10 and the 64 through the final turn of turn number 7. That's Charles Velasquez Jr., the winner of the race at Phoenix earlier on this season, looking to return to victory lane for the first time in quite some time. Velasquez Jr. with the win, and that's the 73 of McWhorter with the spin.
Quarter goes for a spin. You are correct. There was some tight battle in there. I'm not sure if he had contact or just kind of overdrove that turn. We'll grab a replay here in just a few moments.
Yeah, but that was a big moment from the number 73 of McWhorter down into the turn. Not sure whether or not he got a bump, an assistance, a rub, whatever it may be, down to turn number 1. It's a spin regardless. Big moment from the driver, the number 73. He's very happy. The fact he's already locked into the playoffs, but let's take a look at it here, Jeremy.
Looks like not too many people around him. Oh, drives in really deep. May have had to use a little bit more brake because the field closed up so quick in front of him, and those rear tires may have chattered and unfortunately spun out.
Oh, that was Bryson Hixenball actually tank slapping the wall. That was heading down into the final corner. Right as I was in the midst of taking a sip of water, thinking, okay, this race is settled down. We can relax now. Hixenball hitting the wall big time, still locked steady in a spot inside the top 5. However, Edward Scherer Jr. right there to pounce, and that is some pretty significant damage on that race car. I want to see as he heads his way up the hill. We'll stay with this shot or just follow this racer. You can see the front left already a little bit askew. I wonder if he's like right hand down, left hand down, whether or not there's any sort of wheel damage on that car as well. Looks like he's rather okay in the handling department, but either way, that's a rather big hit for the number 63 of Bryson Hixenball.
We'll have some opportunity at some point to probably try to fix some of that damage, or just try to stay in the track position the Hixenball is in right now as we watch the Clotaire machine.
How the hell's he made it up to 6?
I was just gonna say, I believe this driver had an EOL at the end of the stage, and now finds himself already back up. So, oh yeah, so we had a lot of drivers stop this last yellow, so that makes sense. So Blake Clotaire doing a good job of staying out of that mess, finding himself already knocking on the door of the top 5 already after that penalty. This is a car we're going to have to keep an eye on.
Yeah, Blake Clotaire knows that the party is in the place right now, currently holding on to place number 6 as it stands right now, heading his way off through turn number 3 into 4 right now over that crossover bridge. This is a very good and well-composed drive from that number 40 racer. As we take a look, that's a side-by-side fight between Tanner Marty and Kyle Heyman, heading their way down the back straightaway. Two drivers looking to have a good run between now and the end of this regular season to punch their ticket into the playoffs. Both drivers on the outside looking in right now, as that's looking down the inside. Look at that, a very interesting interpretation of track limits for sure from Dylan Kritz. Massive track limits violation heading all through there. But you know, it is a race at Watkins, Glen. It's a stock car race. Screw your track limits. The driver losing out on all that's actually got to be the 68 of Woods.
Yes, Woods lost several positions right now. Looks like 3 spots there for the Woods machine. Daniel Kritz on the winning end of that. We look back through the field here. Got Adam Benefield finally finding himself in that 9th spot.
I'm heading down into turn number 1, following the number 83 there of Adam Benefield briefly running into a good spot. I said a little bit earlier on how he would have been happy just to get away from this race surviving. He's currently surviving right now. The Team Conti racer currently slotted in at 9th, as there may have been some drama down to turn number 1. I think Dylan Kritz may have had a swap of ends. I could see a puff of smoke coming up in that Raytheon car, so I think he may have blown something up down to 1. Let's take a look at this here, Jeremy.
Yes, looks like he just got a little sideways there through turns 1. So looks like he'll still be going straight. Motor's still running strong. Tires might be upset.
I think his tires have probably been turned into semicircles as a result of that moment down into the turn. But thankfully, we are not too terribly far away from the end of stage number 2 here for this race. As we take a look at a Hornet's Nest right now, that's a number 87 of Eric Wineland leading over Joey Beck in the 95, and Cameron Stone right in tow in the 57 machine. A little bit of damage, it looks like, on the front end of that number 95, but not hurting him. Heading down the start-finish stretch into 1. There's a dive into the turn to break his way up into the top 10 yet again. He gets it done, but look at that 87 of Wineland there to fight back.
Up through the S's, Wineland continuing to keep that pressure on. The S's is a good place to make a mistake, especially the close quarters of that barrier. It'll catch you really quick if we miss one turn just a little bit. As you can see, Cameron Stone tried to peek out right there, but thinks otherwise. He's gonna try and ride it out right here, see if he can capitalize to the bus stop. Definitely gets that back bumper of Wineland in that 87 blue car. Looks like Cameron Stone trying to get a better exit out of the carousel. Not there just yet. We'll see what he can do through this. Yes, he is side by side.
They go down the second backstretch into turn number 6. That's Cameron Stone sweeping around the outside of the 57 machine, still trying to hold on to it. The 87, the drafty car there. That's Eric Wineland still trying to hold on to that spot. They're side by side down through the final turn. It's going to be a drag race coming up to the line. This may not have a lot of difference at this point. At the moment, these racers will not be worrying about playoff points come time for the end of the stage. They're just looking to scrap and claw and keep it on the road. That was the 87 of Wineland, dirt tracking it, heading his way off through turn number 1. You don't need to be a scientist to know that that is not the right strategy, heading off through that section of the track right there. Here's Raymond Root holding on to the final podium spot. He's got Charles Velasco Jr. right behind, and the duo of Bryson Ixabal and Blake Clotaire running right there as well. Some close quarter stuff for the 4 cars that we've got on screen right now, as the drivers a little bit farther up the road have really checked away from each other.
Yes, they have pulled away. We got to give some credit here to Raymond Root. 35 laps on his tires, and still in the top 3, doing a great job on this strategy. Top 3 cars on all different strategies. This is we'll have to see whose strategy works the best. And speaking of strategies, here comes that 91 to pit road.
So Raymond Root making their call to come down pit lane. He's not alone, as there's the 10 of Edward Scherer Jr. He looked like he was carrying a whole head of speed down in there. Would not be shocked if that driver has picked up a stop and go or some sort of drive-through penalty for speeding. But as we jump back to the action out there on the racetrack and look at the 40, trying to chase the number 34, the number 60 for your P3 runner of Charles Velasquez Jr. Close stuff as they had their way off through 4.
Velasquez with a slight bobble at the top of the S's. Can Blake Cloutier capitalize? No, he cannot. Oh man, they're both wiggling through here to the bus stop, giving it all they can, trying to get through the bus stop as quick as they can. Not there just yet through the carousel. We'll see if we can capitalize here into turn 5. Excuse me, turn 6.
As he heads his way off through there. I believe that is turn number 5 on this track, down into turn number 6 right about now. That's potentially, that is not a word you can find in the English language dictionary, but potentially will continue to battle in the not too far off future. We will add it in the not too far off future here, as that's another snap, a couple of snaps from Charles Velasquez Jr. as he heads his way off through the final corner. That was a huge moment. Doesn't lose out on too much time, but again, that turn, the final turn around here at the Glen, is rather ominous because you don't have any runoff area. It is track, curb, wall.
And with no fast repairs, you can end your night very quickly. And you don't want to do that when you're chasing a championship. Last lap, Delaney was 4/10 quicker than the leader right now. We'll see if he can continue his march to get into the Hoytsma machine. Where now Hoytsma has 5 lap older tires. Not sure if it's playing that much of a difference because there was some caution laps in there, but the strategy's up front.
That was a 17 of Kyle Amon licking the stamp and sending it down into the bus stop on Eric Wineland beyond the wheel of the number 87 machine. And now you look at Tanner Marty right there to pounce as well. That number 17 car, he has to have a slowdown penalty. He cut about half that chicane. He is still there, involved in this battle. I am not sure what sort of shenanigans went on there, but it was a nice move, a nice dive, and a brilliant send down in there as we kind of take a look at a replay to see this absolute send from the number 17. You could see him running, I would say about 2 car lengths right behind the number 87. Then he finally pulls out, gets that drift, and gets the run heading down in there. And look at this, a shallow line, full commitment, full lawnmower mode through there as well. He made it work. I'm not even sure if he knows how he made it work, but he did.
You got Hixenbaugh. That was Brayson Hixenbaugh on pit road. Coming on pit road for his pit stop attention. Trying to do something different for this second stage. Battle up front.
Battle for the final podium spot as it stands right now. Charles Velasquez Jr. trying to hold it off, but it's a losing effort as down the inside is the number 40 of Blake Cloutier. And there we go. That's going to be a swap-a-roo. Going off the track is the number 64 in the process of that side-by-side running with a 40 very slow through the final turn. And here we go. Velasquez back on the inside. He's ready to fight. This is going to be a battle of the Titans as Hoytsma and Jonathan Delaney have both made that call to come down pit lane. So this is a battle for the Stage 2 win with 2 laps left to go here. I wonder if Hoytsma and Delaney, I guess they would come down pit lane as a result of all of that. So I believe that they did come into the pits at a legal time, so that works out rather well for them. They can jump back to the action and follow what has rapidly turned into a 3-car battle. We were so focused on the 40 and the 64, we haven't realized the 83 of Benefield right there behind.
Oh yeah. Look at that blue machine, number 83 of Anna Benefield. Put on some pretty decent laps here. It was almost 2 seconds fast, or almost a second faster, excuse me, this last lap. Benefield really coming on stronger here at the end of the stage.
So Adam Benefield turning up the wick at the right time, trying to get a good points haul out of all this as we look a little bit farther behind. Our former Maconi Entertainment colleague here on these broadcasts, Ralph Hutchinson, he's out there on the racetrack here in the number 8 machine. He just wheeled it past number 57 of Cameron Stone. That was a pretty nice move. Some stones needed to get that working. As we start this final lap, it's Blake Clotaire running up at the front. Adam Benefield slotted in P2, and you can see Charles Velasquez Jr. in that number 64 machine rounds out your top 3. As we take a look at, actually, no, we're back to live action. As right now, that number 40 still pulling away from Benefield. Looks like he'll be able to grab his first ever stage win here in this series.
Down the long backstretch into the bus stop. Benefield sending it in hard, not close enough just yet. We'll see what he does here coming to the carousel. Right now, half a second in closing, just a little bit. Almost a tenth through the carousel. Lost it though on the exit.
I think it may just be about set at the front of this field. Blake Clotaire, very impressive thus far in his first 2 stages here in the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series as he heads his way down into the final corner. The driver, the number 40, started this race in a solid spot, made his way up to P2 by the end of the first lap, was running strong in stage 1. He gets it done here in stage number 2. That'll be the stage win for him. We jump back to the battle involving Ralph Hutchinson and Cameron Stone. A drag race right to the line. That's going to be tense, and that's going to be Hutchinson finishing in P4. However, that will have to be a swapperoo once we get to the end of this. I will say the stage yellow isn't out just yet. That's one thing we have to worry about. There's the yellow. I wonder if they will swap those 2 back around, because technically speaking, it was still a legal move because the yellow wasn't out just yet. But Ralph Hutchinson going to get the nose out at the end of that stage, finishing in P4. We'll take a look at the results here in just a couple of moments' time from what has been a rather intriguing first half of this race tonight, Jeremy.
After 40 laps, so you can see our second stage finishing order. After that incident at the start of that second stage, those drivers definitely, I think, decided it was time to just ride out the second stage and see how it was going to play out, especially with almost every car having some type of nose and or bumper damage from that incident throughout the whole field. So everybody did really good there.
Right now, as we still have this field running under yellow, we're going to take a quick little break, listen to the ambient sounds of this race, and we'll be right back in a couple of moments' time. Stage 2 completed, and that right there is the number 40, your Stage 2 winner. The pit stops have came and went at the start of this final stage here at Maconi Entertainment for race number 23 of the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series. It's myself, Ron Mullins, and Jeremy Briggs with you on tonight's broadcast. Howie Burrows, our producer, working on the cameras and the graphics in the virtual production hauler. It's been a very intriguing first half of this race, but now with 40 laps left to go, we've got a lot of stuff to worry about. Some green flag pit stops, some potentially going to take place. We do have to worry about that random chance yellow yet again. And we've got our Stage 2 winner still running up at the front. Blake Clotaire, the newcomer here in the Xfinity Series, making his debut in rather festive fashion. Your Stage 2 winner, and frankly, he's been up at the front all throughout tonight's racing action, Jeremy. So I think we have got a rather fascinating Stage 2, a final stage, I should say, that lies ahead of us.
Absolutely right there, Ron. These drivers, you know, as we sit here and look at this race, right, it is just a road course. But a few of these drivers have done a really good job doing different strategies to try to cycle themselves to the front. And with the potential, and I say potential, of this final stage going green to the end, we'll see if the Blake Cortell machine can make the right strategy move and pit at the right time. Boy, we've got a mess here going into this final turn on the track.
A little bit of gravel out there on the track. You know, that's one thing in a vast majority of these broadcasts that we haven't had to talk about. The worry about gravel getting dragged out onto the racetrack. That is an issue here tonight, though, so we may have to worry about that a little bit later on this evening. Get some gravel, get some grass, whatever it may be, but certainly some stuff that shouldn't be out there on the racetrack is out there on the racetrack as it stands right now. So that was nearly a collision there, a little bit farther up the road. I think the number 71 of Hunter Trull, your wave round, he was the one actually picked up an EOL as a result of some drama a little bit earlier on. If there's any grass out there on the racetrack, I think it may have come from him as a result of those interesting tactics, shall we say, heading down the back straightaway, and I think there may have been some more heading down into the final corner. Let's take a look at this here as we see them round around the bend, and I
gravel right there already on the track.
Yeah, someone had to have gone off there a little bit earlier on, because that is a trail of gravel.
I'm wondering if it happened right at the end of that stage, because you can see how much gravel is out on the track. And iRacing's, man, you could just...
There we go. That whoever that car was, I think that may have been the 72. I think that may have been it, because that looked like a rather intriguing line heading down in there. Went to Timbuktu and then came back.
Yes, sir.
I can see the lights are out on the pace car, Jeremy. We're about to get this final stage rolling.
Man, my heart is racing for this final stage. These drivers have been putting on some awesome side-by-side racing here all night long. Very respectful racing. Lots of give and take. We've seen a driver make a mistake earlier in the race and actually give that position back. So we'll have to see how the drivers feel in this final stage. If any tempers decide to flare up. One thing I do know is the pace car lights are off, and we're coming to the final two turns to take the green.
About to get this race back up and rolling. This will be the final stage. Potentially not the final restart. We still have those random chance yellows and the opportunity to come for those to come out between now and the 6 laps left to go. Once we get into the final 5, no chance of a random chance yellow coming out. Those would all be natural if it goes on after that. But here we go, waiting for that pace car to come back down pit lane, put the field in the hands of the two drivers who have been seeming to be on a collision course with a battle, and the third car there, Delaney, right there to pounce as well. We are back racing here at the Glen. A brilliant restart for the number 40 of Blake Clotaire as we see them heading their way out of turn number 1. Some 3 wide, 4 wide action a little bit farther in the back, but the front 3 are the ones I'm keeping my eyes on.
A couple cars getting just a little bit wide here through the S's. So far, so good. Try not to jinx it here. We got one almost into the wall there. That's going to be the 78 of Connor Cunningham in the back here. Getting this field all spread out. Almost 4 wide coming to the bus stop is not going to work.
Yeah, no, side by side heading off through the bus stop is tricky enough. I feel like 4 wide, there's one way that ends, and it is in death. But we take a look at these racers heading their way through the carousel, nearly 3 wide. That is a recipe for disaster, but these racers still somehow able to make it work. That right there, unless I'm very much mistaken, that's the number 34 of Dylan Critz, very slow on the outside line heading off through there. He's going to be running still in a rather far back spot as a result of all of that drama as we take a look at these racers side by side down into the final turn. That's a 78 giving us something to talk about. That's Connery Cunningham battling hard with Tanner Marty. That's for the final spots out the top 15.
So side by side right there. And that number 17 machine, just clips the grass. That's going to push him wide. Cameron Stone's going to capitalize. That was a very hectic restart. So far, everybody's getting kind of situated out as we're getting ready to make the run for this final stage.
Yeah, as we get through the end of this race and get through this final stage, we're going to start to see the creme de la creme rise up to the top, and I think we've got the top of the top up at the top right now. It's a 40, the 97, and the 6. Clotaire, Hoytsma, and Delaney, they have been the dominant drivers thus far. You got your 1 and 2 stage winners currently running in P3 and 3 off the track. That was a big moment there from McWhorter. He had a moment down to turn number 1 a little bit earlier on in this race, and he has a moment down into turn number 6. I gotta wonder whether or not he had some assistance in that.
I think he just clipped the grass. We'll take a look at it. Yeah, just clips the grass right there, trying to stay off of that number 17. Does a good job, though. Completely avoids the gravel pit.
It's very nicely played to avoid running into the kitty litter, but that is still a rather big off-track moment. So take a look at a big side-by-side fight. 3 cars covered by not a lot as they head their way down the backstretch. Look at Bryson Ixamal and Adam Benefiel, the drivers who account for 11 wins up to this point in the season, still running hard. And you look at the driver right behind them, your winner at the Chicago Street Race about a month and some change ago, the number 10 of Edward Scherer Jr. right there. He's looking to find a way to pounce back. He may try and find a way to jump his way up into the top 5 in the process of all that as well. Let's just see how things will work out for him. Looking at the drivers a little bit farther behind, making their way through the carousel just about smooth. Cameron Stone, he's had a wild race up to this point. He's been up and down the field like Otis Elevator. Currently holding on to P11 right now, running all around Noah Woods right there. Let's see if he'll be able to make a move done.
Down the front stretch, side by side here for Cameron Stone, Noah Woods, the 57, 68, and Charles Vasquez Jr. And then 67 putting his nose into the fight and trying to follow him through is the 78 of Connery Cunningham with Kyle Ammon and that number 17 just behind them. We had one heck of a battle for this 10 spot.
Yeah, we got battles going on all up and down the field. Let's take a look at this one side by side with the 63 and the 10. Holy cow, that could end in tears. Look at that. That is some brilliant stuff between those racers. Terrifying for sure, even from us on the broadcast booth, but absolutely fantastic to see as well. The 2 teammates there, the 10 and the 95, Scherer Jr. and Joey Beck, running nose to tails it stands at the current moment. Adam Benefiel was able to get past these racers and say, you know what? I'm good, and then he just drove off into the sunset, so he's looking to get a good points day out of this race. The driver of the number 83 currently slotted in 5th with 35 laps left to go, but here at the front, it's intense. About a half a second separate your podium runners of Hoytsma running in P1, Blake Clotaire running in 2nd, and Jonathan Delaney all over the back bumper, the 40 currently running at your podium in 3rd.
Delaney, definitely one of the fastest drivers we've had tonight, if not the fastest driver. But Clotaire doing a great job of matching that speed. That last lap, Delaney was the fastest driver on the track. I tell you what, these track times are really fast right now for this top 4.
These racers are giving us a good one to talk about here for race number 23 of the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series here at the Glen. Side by side with the 10, the 63 still going on. Look at the number 95. May try and get involved in all that. Hoytsma gets a little bit squirrely. He hopped the curb in a bad way, and I thought I was going to see that car auger straight into the outside wall, but he's still running there, still running strong, and he gets a move done to jump his way up into P number 6. Just barely clears the number 10 of Scherer Jr. down in there. Nearly making contact down to the final corner as well. I think it's starting to get physical.
It's that mental game, Ron. All these drivers have been out here now for 50 laps. They know that the time is winding down. They might be having a little bit of fatigue mentally, just trying to be here on the track, trying to make sure they hit every single corner correct, as we take a look at Connor Cunningham having an issue.
So I think this may have been a race ender for the number 78. Yes, it was. Contact being made, and pow, into the outside wall. That right there is a ruined front end, a crumpled up hood, a front bumper caved in completely, and I'm pretty sure in the process of all that front end impact, yeah, probably blew up the motor. Let's listen to this and the viciousness of this impact. It's the inside wall, and from there he's just a passenger, and pop goes the engine.
Oh, you can tell he was just along for the ride there after that happened.
Yeah, that inside wall heading off through the bus stop chicane, ever since it was introduced in 1992 following the rather big crash for Tommy Kendall in an IMSA race and the fatal crash for J.D. McDuffie in the NASCAR Cup Series in 1991. They introduced that inner loop bus stop chicane. It's technically called the inner loop and the carousel is called the outer loop, but hey, bus stop and carousel sound a bit more fun as far as I'm concerned. But that inside wall, I have hit that enough times to let you know that it's not a pleasant wall to hit. If there's any wall that is pleasant to hit, it certainly is not that one.
And as you saw there, when you make contact with that wall, it goes from bad to worse. But when you get the closer you can get to that wall, it can sometimes help improve your lap times as you try to get straighter entries to the bus stop. You can see the 63 of Hixenbaugh still continue to get pressure there from the Scherer Jr. machine. Not pulling away like I thought he would. As Joey Beck right there at 95, not letting these two get too far away.
Here he goes, on my side racing a flare up as that 02 of Mark Padgett running slow on the outside line. He's now got to get overtaken as well by the number 71 of Hunter Truex. He's had a rather wacky race in his own regard. There's a pit stop. Multiple pit stops. That's the number 63 of Bryson Ixenbaugh, along with the 57 of Cameron Stone making the call to pits. That's rather fascinating, Jeremy. I didn't think we would see it this early into the final stage.
This early into the final stage tells me one thing. They were trying to just stop here and get their stop over with.
At this point of the race, in the final 40 laps, except for the final 5, where this will not be the case, we do have the possibility of that yellow coming out, that random chance caution still looming over these racers. So we gotta wonder if that comes out, how much is it going to affect? I wonder if those racers are thinking, you know what, it's been a clean start to this stage. We won't have a scheduled restart, so the one incident we've seen would not happen if that were the same case here. So I think these racers who have come down pit lane trying to angle to see whether or not they will pick up that random chance yellow.
Random is just that. Got a random chance of this working out with your strategy at this point in the race. We'll see what the race control does with that random caution idea. I do like it. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, I think I've heard some mixed opinions when it comes to that random chance yellow, but haven't seen it play too big of a role in these races up to this point. I feel like that may change though here at Watkins Glen. There's a lot riding in stakes for these racers if they decide to say, you know what, screw it, we're gonna angle ourselves for this to be a clean run through to the end, or whether that may not be the case for these racers. We'll just have to see who's going to come out victorious here in race number 23 of the season. To all of you tuning into this broadcast here on Maconi Entertainment, we hope you enjoyed tonight's racing action. If you do, have to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on the action from this series or the FLCC on Saturday nights here on Maconi as well. Looking at the battle going on a little bit farther behind. That's number 17 of Kyle Amon, potentially trying to make something work down the inside of the 68 of Noah Woods. That's a battle for P12 right now, and through goes Amon. There is the number 8 of Ralph Hutchinson making that call to come down pit lane. Interesting to see that at this point of the race. I'm not entirely sure exactly what the deal is with all of that as we look at these two running nose to tail. That's a number 91 and the 83. They're currently running in P4 and P5. I wonder if some of these racers who are going for these interesting strategy calls just banking on a caution. That was raised by our producer Howie in the production truck. So I gotta wonder, Jeremy, whether or not that is truly the case.
This is definitely one heck of a gamble. We'll have to see how it plays out. Drivers just try and do something. You got if you follow the leader, you're gonna do just that all night long. Is follow that leader. Try to roll the dice here at Watkins, Glen. I like the idea of that. Gambling on a road course. Who would have thought? Guys, we were side by side there. I believe that was the Benefield machine making that machine pass the route machine.
So we gotta wonder how it's all going to work out here in this race today. I just had a very odd, oh boy, okay, so I do not know why my Discord is acting the way it is, but it certainly is, and for some reason it will not allow me to get a screenshot of all the shenanigans that's going on, so I can't even prove that half my screen was completely blanked out for no obvious reason. So thankfully we're doing all right as it stands presently. But right now, the yellow still holds on to the race. There's the yellow. There it is.
Random chances, just that. Yes, sir.
That changes it all. We were thinking that this was going to come out. Those drivers who came into the pits a little bit earlier on, mainly the number 63 of Bryson Ixenball, I think they're going to be quite pleased with this yellow coming out because they're going to be able to shuffle up to the front. For the front three, though, of Hoyt's, we're hearing from the YouTube chat that's actually Blake Cloat. However, I will also say to the other person in the YouTube chat, first off, thank you for tuning in. I want to apologize right before I act like a total ass. I am not Mr. Mullins. So one of my closest friends has that last name, but it is not me. But right now, those front three, if they do have to come down pit lane and they get relegated a little bit farther back, I gotta wonder which one of them is going to be able to scythe their way through the field the best. My money would honestly be on the number 97 of Hoytsman. He's been in situations like this before already.
As the field is caught up to the pace car. Down this back stretch, coming to the bus stop. Pit road should be open this time. See what drivers decide to make that right-hand turn now. Strategies are wild tonight, and this has definitely kept this race very interesting. Got to give the league credit for doing a good job of keeping something so simple and boring to most. You know, when you're going left and right, some people don't find that entertaining, but it's definitely a part of the NASCAR world. And, you know, when I grew up, I grew up early in the 90s there, and we only had 2 road courses in my time. I think now we're up to almost 7, so it could be a little bit too much for some, but coming back to the classic road course of Watkins Glen has definitely been a great sight to see here tonight, and excited for the real-life stuff tomorrow. But we're here tonight on Maconi Entertainment, and these drivers are just one turn away from pit road.
Yeah, and now here we go. The pit stop. So we were thinking we're going to be rather dramatic. The pit stops during the yellow that we thought was going to be a real game changer. Here we go. They're trundling their way down pit lane. Thought I was going to see the 6 getting into the back of the 40. That worked out rather all right, but here we go. The pit stop's now officially underway. Who's going to come out first? I think the drivers who came into the pits right before the yellow, they're going to be smelling like a bed of roses. But if one of these racers gets a terrible run down pit lane, they're probably going to smell more like a bucket of horse manure. Who's going to come out first? That's a number 97. There's the 6. Here we go. Up on the jacks, they're all going to go. I wonder if anyone's going to decide to take only 2 tires. Don't usually see a call like that on the road courses, and these racers will probably run it green all the way through to the end, so I would not be shocked if that's the case. What in the world was going on there with the 83 of Benefield? Looked like he had nearly ended up going into 2 pit stops in the same of one single run through pit lane as the 6. That right there was Delaney having a terrible run through pit lane.
No obvious signs of any drivers taking 2. We'll let race control take a look at all those pit stops and see if there's any penalties to be dealt, as we've seen that once tonight of a driver going through too many pit stalls.
And as we are under this yellow here, while the other yellow is coming out in this race, it's been a rather clean one up to this point. Only 1 yellow for incidents, the other 2 outside of this one as a result of stage breaks, this being the random chance yellow. We will not have to worry about another yellow coming out because of random chance. It was a one-shot deal when it comes to those random chance cautions, and it comes out here. So we will wait to see these racers re-rack and get up and rolling, but as we are under this small little pause in this race, we'll let you know about some of the stuff coming up here on Maconi Entertainment. Of course, for those tuned into the FLC action, you can catch the action for the full-length Cup Challenge running here at Watkins Glen tomorrow evening exclusively on Maconi Entertainment. The run to the playoffs rather intense for that series, and hopefully all of you will be able to tune in there. The Racers Elite going to be running a special event at this exact same track on the morning/afternoon/evening of the 10th of August, so this upcoming Sunday. You'll be able to see that action. That is a cup race, and the same could be said about the door-to-door sim racing league running later on that evening, also at Watkins Glen. The Racers Elite Truck League will be running at IRP this upcoming Tuesday, but on Monday you'll be able to see the action from our coverage of the Formula 1600 Monday Strength of Field races. That will be at Virginia International Raceway on the 11th of August, this upcoming Monday at 3:45 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's all the stuff to look forward to here on Maconi. But Jeremy, looks like we have a restart to look forward to.
So much action to look forward to here on Maconi Entertainment, and so much entertainment to look forward here tonight, right now, here at Watkins Glen. And we're going to have to watch how this happens out. But right now, Hixenbaugh doing a great job of taking that strategy, gambling it, and finding himself as our current leader. Cameron Stone, one of those drivers that's been back and forth all night long throughout the running order, finds himself on that front row. We'll see if he can capitalize.
I like that infographic from the production truck. Is Hixenbaugh inevitable? I would say potentially. If it's win number 8 for Bryson Hixenbaugh this season here at the Glen, that would be a staggering performance, another fantastic win, and that would be 2 in the past 3 weeks, 1 in fuel mileage at India. Don't tell Adam Benefield. Adam, if you're tuning into this broadcast, because I know he likes to tune into them, as actually no, that was number 6, I believe. That just went straight through the bus stop chicane. I was going to say, me mentioning the success that Bryson Hixenbaugh has had up to this point in the season was so distressing to him that he went straight through the final chicane. But Hixenbaugh, I'm looking through his record up to this point in this season. 1 at Indy, 1 at Auto Club, which was the replacement race for the other race at Mexico City, because we don't have that on iRacing yet, keyword being yet. Also 1 at the likes of Nashville, Bristol, Miami, Las Vegas. Yet to visit Victory Lane on a road. Actually, no, as I said, I spoke too soon. I didn't scroll up enough. Win number 1 for him this season came at Circuit of the Americas, another Another classic sort of road course, host Formula One still. Watkins Glen used to host Formula One way back in the 60s and 70s. So who knows? Maybe it's these old F1 style road courses that Bryson Exenball seems to excel at. Certainly would get done through a nice little stroke of strategy, but let's see what he can do as a pace car now back down pit lane. The field back in the hands of our front row sitters. We're back to green here at the Glen. That's Exenball getting off to a flyer. Hoytsma though in that number 97 machine. Work into turn one. He's gonna go a half spin through the runoff area. He keeps it going in somewhat of a straight line, but he threw everything at the wall. He threw the kitchen sink at, but sadly that sink broke.
That is the risk you take of being super aggressive on these road courses, trying to drive it in deep. Sometimes you drive it in too deep and you cannot stop the car. That's going to be pretty substantial there for that Hixenbaugh. We'll see, or excuse me.
Whoa, boy, that right there is the number 8 of Ralph Hutchinson with a wild and wacky ride coming out of the bus stop. He keeps it stuck to that inside grass patch through the carousel and rejoins without any further incident. Bryson Exenball, though, now leading over Cameron Stone. Cameron Stone yet again proving that's not over until it is over. He has run in just about every single spot you could in this race. He's now back up in P2, and he's only about 3.5 tenths of a second off of Bryson Exenball. That gap going down as they head their way down the start-finish straightaway off into turn at number 1. Hoytsma with that moment down to turn 1 last lap on that restart. Locked it up big time, just carried way too much speed into the turn, and he had only one way to go about that, and that was setting himself up off the track before he'd end up ramming into somebody else. No more random yellows between now and the end of this race, so it is very likely going to be an all-green run in the run-up to the end. Exenball running at a good spot, but Delaney and Cloat running right there in P3 and P4. They're right there to pounce.
The 6 there of Delaney gets to the inside. Can't make that pass though for P2. Trying to get a really good exit out of that carousel. Man, this is great racing. A couple cars shading to the left. Driving it in. There's Cloat. Side by side. They touch doors. We're going to have almost 3 wide in turn 7.
Oh, looking Benefield, he's back there. Oh, the 6. Whoa, no, that's not going to work. Sideways, into the outside wall, and a huge hit, and bang, into the barrels is going to go the 87. They're stacking it up big time. That's got to be a yellow. There is no way that remains green. We remain green here. Wineland, he gets a penalty, probably for speeding on pit lane because he augured straight into the sand barrels. The caution has come out, and here's what caused it. As soon as we start to see that 6 and the 40, the two drivers, the top running drivers here in this race, throw off a civil war at each other. Look at that 83 of Benefield, that's 6, trying to hold on to it. He wanted to win this race, and he wasn't willing to stop. That just wasn't going to work in the final turn, and he wrecks himself. Huge heading off through there. Holy cow.
We can see that was a pretty big incident. We talked about the potential of no more yellows here tonight, and we did a good job of jinxing that and coming out of the final turn. Drivers battling really hard. You know, they knew they were battling for that win too, and you know, you got to go out there and drive hard, and unfortunately, it did not work out.
Yeah, I gotta say, and this is honest, that may have been one of the most spectacular crashes that I have seen in at least the entirety of this season, if not my entire time covering races at Watkins Glen. That was a huge moment. Huge pile up there as well. I mean, I'm not even sure what to say about all that. That takes out another strong contender, and that gives a bit of a lifeline there to the number 97 of Lucas Hoytsma. I'm not sure where he's going to shake out as a result of all of that. Yeah, unfortunate there. That camera is sponsored by Sunoco, as you can probably tell. But here's the camera covering the action, heading down the backstretch off into the second to last turn. That's where it all started to go awry. That 40 car, I don't like that move, frankly. That was not going to work. But this didn't work either. I think that both of them really contributed to that accident taking place. The 40 set off the 6 in that path, and then that move from the 6 down to the final turn. Jonathan Delaney, that just was not going to work, as you can see those racers trying to pick their way through the smoke and the drama. I think Hoytsma had to slow down to a crawl to clear that incident. But not many others were so fortunate to say that they got out on the other side of that. The 10 car got clipped and all of that, and ended up firing straight into the side of the 87 of Eric Wineland. That is a huge moment. First off, that is a massive collision, don't get me wrong. But for Wineland, who entered this race 46 above the cut line, that is going to be a rather big kick in the shins. The only consolation is the fact that none of the drivers below the cut line really having a fantastic race here at the Glen. And Kirk Mills, who was the final driver in heading into this race, plus 24, actually was involved in that first stack up on the restart. He entered 24 above the cut line. He's going to hope to have a good points haul here today if he wants to remain in that playoff discussion.
I would suspect everybody to stay out except for those drivers involved in that incident. We'll see how this field shakes up. See who can capitalize on others' misfortunes. It's kind of the downfall sometimes of having these bigger fields. Is, you know, there's so many cars on the track when a wreck happens, everybody just kind of piles in there because it's just happening so fast with so many cars, and unfortunately we collected a lot in that one. But drivers racing hard, and you'll have that sometimes.
So as we see, that was the 06 of Matthew Boston Wheeler. He gets a wave around under this yellow, going to have pretty much a stage distance at the end of all of this. 20 laps left to go at the very most. So we're probably going to get restarted with, at the very most, 18 laps left to go in regulation at the very least when it comes to this race. I'm trying to think of the last time that we had a green-white checkered in one of these races. It may have been, I'm trying to think now, it may have been all the way back in May for one of the races that we had at Texas. So it's been quite a while. I don't know why I put so much influence on the H there in a while. But it has been quite a long time since we did see a green-white checkered situation. So, hey, if we end up seeing that, that would certainly throw a big wrench in the works to these drivers and the already rather sketchy day that they have had up to this point. 3 green-white checkered attempts allotted to these competitors. Let's see if we will end up using 1 or 2 or maybe all 3.
Way things have gone tonight, never say never. You know,
true that.
Watkins Glen is so tight. I believe that's what's kind of contributed to a few of these wrecks being a little bit bigger than expected, just because there's not a lot of runoff on these smaller turns, especially like, you know, turn 7. There's just everybody's funneling, and that's probably one of the tightest turns on the track. You're just trying to get a good momentum coming on that straightaway, because if you're not going fast, you're going to lose a ton of time. As you can see right now, as we're riding on board with our leader, when you're coming off turn 7, you want to make sure you're really hauling the mail. You want to have a good entry into turn 1 and capitalize on that. And if you're going slow off of turn 7, whoever's behind you could probably jump in front of you going into turn 1. That's why a lot of those drivers didn't expect it to be happening right there on the exit of turn 7. But nonetheless, pace car lights are off. Field is getting double file. We're coming down here. We're going to be 18 laps to go when we come back to the green.
So 18 laps left of racing action, and 18 laps of probably, I'm not sure whether I would describe it as pandemonium, chaos, destruction, calmness potentially. We'll just have to wait and see. There's a lot of stuff that could happen between now and the end of this race. That is absolutely for sure. You can see a little bit of damage there. It looks like a little bit of damage, at least on the front of that number 63 of Hickson ball. That, or his paint scheme, is intentionally designed to look like it's been in a couple of accidents. He did have that moment heading off through, I believe it was coming out of the final corner, if my memory serves me correctly, where he really pancaked the outside wall. I think that is definitely the damage on that race car that is speaking and all that. Yeah, you can see the front tire speaking out a teeny tiny bit, sticking out a little bit on the front of that number 63 machine. About to get him re-racked and ready to get up and rolling here, Jeremy. 18 lap dash through to the end. 18 laps of pandemonium, I'm expecting.
Who is going to dive into turn one this time in a desperate move to make up some positions? We're going to find out. We know one driver that made that mistake early on. It was Lucas Hoytsma back in 14th. Let's see if he can try to do that move once again, but stay on the track and maybe gain a few more spots back.
Who's going to be able to potentially do a little bit of damage limitation, damage control at the end of this race? I'm sure there are some racers quite unhappy about how things have worked out for them thus far. Others are looking to try and capitalize right at the end of this race. Lots of different agendas up and down this field. This rather shaved down field. It's been a bit of a hectic one here for race number 23 of this season. 18 cars on the lead lap as we're about to get it up and rolling once again here at the Glen. The green flag back out, the drivers back on their way, and here's Adam Benefield looking for a move down the inside into turn number one. That is not a good move to try and go for. 3 wide down in there, not going to work out well. That's a driver running off the track big time. That's probably going to be the slowdown of a lifetime as we take a look now. That's Benefield and Cameron Stone battling really hard. We're hearing that it was Joey Beck who picked all that up, as I think we may have just seen the number 17 Cody Warner pick up a disqualification, hit that 21x limit, and he's now out of the session. So as we see one car get sent to the Shadow Realm, we see 5 cars, 6 cars running single file through the chicane.
One factor I guess you could say we definitely forgot about was that X system. Drivers acquiring so many X's, so many incidents to get themselves disqualified from this race tonight. You know, some of it may have been them, some of it might be out of their own hands, you know, just driving on a track. When we had that big stack up at the beginning of the race, that could have got some drivers some 4 to 8 X's, and it can really happen really quick as we're almost side by side though there for the lead. Benefield did a great job on that restart. Thought about going 3 wide. Great heads up move, did not. Right now lost a little bit of time on the exit of that final turn. Going to have to make up the ground on Hickson ball here in a turn 1. Not there just yet, but definitely putting the pressure on.
As we look at these racers at the front of the field, Hickson ball leads over Benefield, over Stone, over Cloat. Rounding out the top 5 is Raymond Root in that number 91 machine. He's got Ralph Hutchinson right in tow as well in the number 9 car. Contact being made their way off through turn number 4. Yabba gabba damn it, that could have ended in tears for the 57 of Stone. He keeps it going in a straight line. He's now holding his way off through there. Big curb waxes add their way off through the bust up chicane. That is so close to absolute catastrophe breaking out. Well held though. The reflexes of a ninja for the number 57 of Cameron Stone. Cloat gang to the back, trying to pull off a bump and run through turn number 4. I'll tell you what, if that 57 didn't save it, we probably would have seen another car get airborne and potentially flip. That would have been a monstrous collision.
Watching the replay. Oh, yeah. Wow. Monster save there by that 57 of Cameron Stone. That was very close to disaster. Does a good job right here, too. Side by side, they're really close with Cloat to get through that bus stop. Look at that wheel. Wow.
Oh, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what, this is honest. That driver's fire suit probably smells like what the lady at the garden center likes to call fertilizer. That right there is terrifying from Cameron Stone. He had to use every fiber of his being to keep that car going in a straight line, and he did, and he still runs a P3, so well done to him. But talk about the battle of the Titans. You know, we were expecting this to happen at some point, a battle between your 2 winningest drivers from this season, Adam Benefield, who's been on fire as of recent weeks, getting 2 of his 4 wins over the past couple of rounds of the championship. Ixenball, who won at Indy on fuel mileage, still there as well in the race lead. Here comes a dive from the 40 on the 57 into turn number 6. That's going to cause the 57 to run a little bit wide. The dive into the final turn, trying to get it done. This will be a battle for third, and now it looks like those front two not going to be alone for much longer. Ixenball and Benefiel were probably wondering when they would finally battle for a win out there on the racetrack, but they've got some company. Chloe on the 40 machine. He's there and there to win.
Right now, extremely aggressive. You can see him driving in as deep as he can, trying to make up all that time. Sometimes if you do that too much, though, you're just losing time. And he's finally passed that stone machine. Let's see if he can make up that room. But right now, Benefiel has the momentum, but a great block by Ixenball. A heads up. Keep the 83 from turning to his right side as they now go through the bus stop. A little loose for the 83, but keeping pace as they go to carousel. Tries to drive it down to the bottom. Ixenball, though, with that higher entry, is going to help him apex a little bit later into this turn. See if he can get a good run off of the carousel down into turn 6 and 7.
Yeah, hit that late apex, get the good run down the second backstretch into the second to last turn. They're going to go down a gear through the turn, lick the stamp and send and hit those curves. Here comes the 83 trying to find a space. He sees a little bit of daytime and he wants to open up that door a little bit more. They're side by side down through that start finish straightaway. Now 14 laps left to go here. Watkins, Glen, that's Ixenball and Benefiel battling for the lead. Look at that 40 car. He's right there to pounce as well. If one of these drivers trips up, P2 would be Klowat, but here we go. They had their way out of 1 into 2. That's the 40 gang that moved on Ixenball. He's dropping down. Gonna lose out on another spot potentially to Cameron Stone. Stone makes his way up into the final podium spot. Ixenball backs out of it. He has 7 wins. He doesn't want to wreck that car. Keep the momentum rolling. Keep that car rolling as well. But Benefiel leads over Klowat. Here we go through the bus stop, in through the carousel right about now. This may be when it starts to get a little bit physical. Getting into crunch time. Lucky number 13 laps left to go once they cross the line in a few moments time. But Benefiel looking for win number 5. Klowat looking for win number 1. Cameron Stone, who all throughout this race has been a driver to keep tabs on for various reasons, whether it be him dropping down like a rock. There's a move from Klowat into the second to last turn. He gets it done out of the blue on the 83. Right as I was talking about Stone trying to battle for win number 2. That's P at number 1, formerly P2 for Blake Klowat.
Power move there out of that number 40 of Blake Klowat. Just straight up sending it into these turns. Doing a really good job of braking late. Trying to get as far away as he can from these drivers. He's extremely aggressive and it paid off right there. It's all Benefiel with a big moment coming up to the S's. He's going to lose a ton of momentum on that Klowat machine. We'll see if he can get it down the backstretch with some draft.
Yeah, I think that number 83 car will have to hope for that draft to try and keep him in tow and keep him honest. We've got a massive pack of cars at the front of this field. As look a little bit farther in the back, Raymond Root in that number 91 machine. He's there and there to pounce as well. And if these drivers start to battle a little bit more, look farther behind. That number 8 of Ralph Hutchinson. He's only 0.8 of a second off of Raymond Root. Hoytsma, he's there as well. The driver of that number 97 car. We thought he was out of it. He still has a lot of time to try and make up. He has about 3.5 seconds to make up. If we have a yellow between now and the end of this race, keep an eye on that driver currently slotted in P7. He may have a good shot to get the win done. Win number 2 for him in this season. At the end of it all here tonight, but Blake Klowat going to lead him, heading out of the final corner. Now 12 laps left to go here at Watkins Glen. 12 laps, and that is going to be all for these races if they can keep it clean.
I said Benefiel was kind of falling back right there. He's keeping the pressure on now. You see now the 80th. As we look at this replay of Klowat making the pass for the lead. We're going to come out of the carousel. He's going to have a really good momentum on this exit. You can see him closing on the back bumper of the 83 Benefiel. He's going to stay to his left. Benefiel tries to block, but he cannot do that. And the Klowat machine just straight up sends it. And makes that pass happen, makes it look so easy.
Yeah, that number 40 driver just going ham into it. Works out well. It could have ended in tears, but works out well enough for Blake Clowat to potentially find himself winning the race because of that move. So there's a little bit of time left to go here in this race, but there's still enough of a gap for him right now that I think he may be feeling rather good about his chances. We look at this pack of cars, 6 strong, 6 cars covered by about 2 seconds as they head their way down into turn number 1 for what will hopefully be one of the last times in this race, certainly in crunch time. And we are now getting to the point where we're starting to see the differences of these cars. We're into a somewhat long run here, Jeremy. Not a super long run, but long enough whereby we will start to see these drivers' strengths and these drivers' weaknesses.
Track changes just a little bit here too throughout the race with rubber going down, temperature. It looks like it's a little bit more sunnier than it was when we started this race, as we're going to be side by side here into the bus stop, the 73 of Joseph McWhorter making that work. And they pass back though, as Hoytsma right back around him into that bus stop. Whew.
Battle is still so intense throughout this field, getting into crunch time, getting to the end of this race, and considering we'll only have 3 races left to go after this in the regular season, these racers have a bit more importance in mind. No intermediates really between now and the end of this season. Look at the end of the regular season, that is Daytona, Portland, and Gateway. Eric Wineland, he's making the call to come down pit lane in the number 87 car. Got to be out of gas. Something is amiss with that car. Looks like he has some rather big damage as well. Joey Beck also making the call to come down pit lane. This is interesting. 2 drivers making that call to pit. I wonder if there's any commonality between those cars, whether or not they came in roughly the same time, whether or not they're both out of gas, or whether or not there's some sort of incident, and whether that could apply to anybody up through the front end of the field. We would think that they're clean and green all the way to the end to just keep it rolling, but you can never be too sure. I've seen plenty of driver pick up nothing when it comes to their fuel pumps still running in their car. So who knows? Let's see if anybody will potentially run out come time for the end of this.
Keep an eye on their lap times too. Fastest lap for our leader was a 1:11.88. Right now, coming to the line. See what they run this time. A 1:12.45, so almost a second of fall off. We'll see if that helps these drivers on that fuel strategy part of the things, if they are working the fuel strategy.
Follow Adam Benefield, currently slot in P2, still giving a bit of pressure to the back of the number 40 of Blake Clowat right in front. Will it be enough, though, to pressure that number 40 car into a mistake? Newcomer against the 4-time race winner, heading their way down into the bus stop for one of the last times in this race. We keep our fingers crossed that we will not have another yellow between now and the end of this that could wreak havoc to what these racers were probably expecting the end of this race to be like. These two also breaking away in their own little pack, as we see it just barely there in the back shot the rest of the train of cars. We had all these cars covered by just about nothing not terribly long ago. Now the front 2 of Clowat and Benefield have pulled a nearly 2-second gap between themselves and Cameron Stone.
1 minute you look up and it looks like Adam Benefield's out of this race, and then you look up again and he's almost back to the bumper of Blake Clowat. So Clowat definitely going to have to be smart here in these final 8 laps that are winding down extremely quickly.
Really getting into the end of this race. These racers have been able to put on a good one here at Watkins Glen for race number 23 of the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series season here at Maconi Entertainment for 2025. It's Clowat, the driver making a series debut, looking to win on debut right in front of Adam Benefield, the 4-time race winner, already slotted as the 2nd seed in this race. All throughout the season, he's felt to say this in a bad way. He's felt like the bridesmaid all throughout this season to the number 63 of Hicksonball, who's led the series in wins. But right now, Benefiel has the spot. He has the opportunity to maybe get it done. And for the driver who entered this race thinking, you know what, I just want to make it to the end, he may be able to make it to the end. He may be able to make it to the end first out of anybody. He may be able to see that checkered flag first. And if he can, that would be a wonderful drive from the 83 machine.
Little wiggle there for Benefield into the turn, though. Keeping it with him, man. These drivers the tires definitely got some laps on them. We've had a pretty good stretch of a green flag run right here. Look through the field real quick. Raymond Root still doing a good job right there in the top of 5, right there in 5th. We've seen Lucas Hoitzma. He's had a little issue, finding himself back up to 8th. Dylan Kritz, one of the drivers that was a little quieter earlier on in the race, now just inside the top 10. And Mark Paget battling right now with Kyle Ammon and Noah Woods for that 10th and final spot.
I think something may have just gone on with the number 68 of Noah Woods as we cut to a replay. This may be it. Heading down into the final corner. This may have been an immediate commentator's jinx from you here, Jeremy, as we see him heading his way through the final turn down into turn number 1. Don't worry, I've pulled off far, far worse, even today for that matter. And let's see, heading down into turn number 1, survey says, hit the curb and bang into the inside wall. I think Graham Rahal did something very similar to that in an IndyCar race here back in, I think, 2016.
I know what's wrong with it. It's got too much gas in it.
Yeah.
I might have gassed it up a little bit too much there on the exit of turn 1, especially with the combination of those rumble strips. Can be a little tricky. I've done it myself. I've done it myself about 800 times too. So, been there, done that. We'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the other curbs around this track, especially on the exit of turn number 1 and also heading out the carousel out of turn number 5, the curbs about as crinkled up as a folded up trash bag. So whenever you hit them, these cars will not be very happy when you run into them at a bad angle. We've seen that from Hicksonball. They got a good view of it as we ride on board with Raymond Roots. I don't know why. That number 63 machine of Hicksonball has seemed to be the sketchiest every single time we see these racers hop the curb coming out of turn at number 5. Now, I'm not sure if it's my eyes deceiving me or what, but I gotta say, oh boy, I think Raymond Root was actually the one a little bit squirrely over the curb, had to saw at the wheel to keep it going in a straight line before the final turn. Either way, though, no matter how you slice it, the curbs around here, not a comfy, cozy, warm, and soft weighted blanket. I would say it's a blanket made out of dynamite.
And it's pretty incredible how tall and deep the ribs are on these curbs. I was at Pocono earlier this summer and just walking to the infield. You know, they've got a small infield course there at Pocono. You can just see how deep those curbs are. It's almost 6 inches for those little ribs, and it doesn't sound too big. But when you're taking these flat tires over those curbs, it can really upset the handling.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I have been to Pocono on several occasions. I've raced at Pocono on several occasions on the infield road course, and I will let you know that hitting those curbs in a go-kart is about as bad for your back as you could possibly imagine. That's part of the reason why I have the back of a 95-year-old man, despite being just about 20. But here we go. Entering the final 4 laps of this race for Clowat. He's about to head his way around the final few corners to begin the final 4 laps. He holds on now to a half a second, a little bit over that gap between himself and Benefiel, about 5.5 tenths, now to about 6 tenths. Right as I say that, we're starting to see this gap balloon out. I think Adam Benefiel, he may be happy about just getting a good result here. That number 40 car just seems untouchable at the moment.
Just a couple thousandths separating these drivers last time, but you can see it stretching out right here through the S's. Making a series debut, potentially getting a series debut win here for Blake Clowat.
That'd be a brilliant result if he can get it done. We'll just have to wait and see if he holds on to this spot. Still have to look at the drama all throughout this field in case there is a yellow through green-white checkered attempts allotted to these competitors. We haven't seen a green-white checkered since the race at Texas. And to show you how long ago that was back on May the 2nd. So it's been a very long time since we saw a green-white checkered scenario. So I think we may be good to run through to the end. If that is the case, Clowat going to be victorious in his series debut. If not, we'll just have to wait and see. We'll say this battle right now that we've got on screen, the number 73 of Joseph McWhorter running in 7th, then the 8 of Ralph Hutchinson. This is a battle for the final spot inside the top 6 as it stands right now. May have a swapperoo as a 73 looking down the inside, down into turn number 1 through the gears he's gonna go. The 8 of Ralph Hutchinson, our former colleague here on these Friday Night Lights broadcasts, holding on to a pretty good spot right now, and it looks like he will not lose one of these for now.
Oh, heavy pressure there from the McWhorter machine all over the back bumper of the 8, trying to set him up here for this back stretch. Long back stretch, trying to look to the right, going to drive it in deep here into the bus stop. We'll be side by side to the bus stop. Thinks otherwise of it though, does a good job of backing off, trying to keep that momentum up, try another time here coming into the turn number 6.
They head their way off through the carousel. It's very close quarter stuff between a lot of these racers, still locked steady in their own close battles. Gotta be 2 to go with the line for Blake Clowat, but here we go. Side by side, potentially got flare up, not close enough to get that move done from the number 73 of McWhorter. He remains in P7 as it stands right now, but he's certainly looking to risk it for the biscuit or the Triscuit if he's feeling the low calorie option. 2 to go for Clowat. He holds on now to a quarter of a second gap, right as you said, Jeremy. Right as you think that Adam Benefiel is out of it, he shows us that he is not willing to lie over to the side and let Clowat walk away with the victory. Now a quarter of a second, we're starting to see these battles really close up. Coming to the white flag next time by for Clowat, and he looks like he's going to take it with a not so comfortable gap to himself and Benefiel.
Oh boy, Benefiel doing a great job. He's almost to the back bumper here of Clowat through the carousel. Is he going to do something in turn 6? We're going to have a heck of a battle here coming to the white flag.
Is it going to get physical? Will it get physical? Will we see that 83 of Benefiel throw caution to the wind and give a nice important lesson to the driver of that number 40 machine right in front? The driver has 4 wins up to this point, looking to dethrone your current race leader, on track for his first as he goes for the dive into the final turn. That's not going to work out there, but he's still close. Right to the back bumper of the 40 as a white flag in the air. One more lap of racing action here at Watkins Glen, and as Blake Clowat leading down into turn number 1 through the gears are gonna go. The exit out of here gonna be so vital. The 40 parks the bus a little bit, heading off through the apex. That's gonna check him up a little bit. The 83 still right there to try and pounce 3/10 the gap. 4/10 going to be the gap if he loses out on some even more time heading up the hill. But here we go, Benefiel keeping that momentum rolling through the S's down the back straightaway for the final time. Got the lap car of no woods farther up the road. Not gonna play a factor in this battle, I don't think. Clowat leads, heading through the bus stop for the last time in this race. If Benefiel wants to make it work, it's got to be off through the final 2 turns as he's just not close enough. Heading off through the carousel, 3, nearly 4/10 of a second being the gap. That's a bad curve whack from Benefiel, not getting a good exit. He's going to have some heroics. Heading down into the final corner at the end of this race, Blake Clowat in that number 40 car, making a series debut here on the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series, grabbed the stage 2 victory. He has been faultless in his series debut, and as he heads his way on that start finish straightaway, it will be Watkins Glen brilliance here for Clowat. He's victorious here at the Glen. Benefiel gonna come up close, 7.5 of a second, the gap at the line. He finishes in P2. Cameron Stone with a wacky race, gonna round out your top 3, but the 40 of Blake Clowat, your winner in a rather convincing fashion. The driver in his series debut got up to second right away, and then ever since then he grabbed that lead, ran up the front. He really never looked back.
Definitely going to have quite the conversation when we bring him into the broadcast booth for his victory lane speech. It's going to be interesting to see what he's got to say about his day. like I said, was running up front, had a penalty, had to go to the back, and drove his way to the front, avoided all the chaos. Man, what a debut for the number 40 of Blake Clowat.
An awesome debut for Clowat, to be sure. What a way to get it done in your series debut. And to show you how new of a driver he is in this championship, he joined the full-length challenge Discord server only on Monday. So he hasn't even been here for 5 days, and he gets the checkered flag, the Xfinity racer, winning on his debut. We're going to see him burn it down here on the start-finish straightaway. Some well-earned donuts at the end of this race in that number 40 Toyota Supra. And there we go. He burns it down, locks up the fronts, get that back end around, and here we go, burning up some Goodyears at the end of this race. Race number 23 here from the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series is won by Blake Clowat. We'll get those results loaded up for you right about now and let you know that the gap at the end was about 3/4 of a second between himself and Adam Benefiel, who I don't think should hang his head low at all. He entered this race thinking, okay, you know what? Chances are I'm probably just going to be happy by just making it to the checkered flag. He nearly made it to the checkered flag first. He's a racer, though, so I'm sure he may be kicking himself a little bit, but overall, I think a very good day from the driver of the number 83 machine. Cameron Stone will round out your podium runners in third. It'll be Bryson Exaball finishing this race in fourth. Raymond Root in fifth. Joseph McCorder is classed in P6th. Ralph Hutchinson in seventh. It's going to be Lucas Hoytsma finishing this race in P8. Dylan Critt with a rather up and down race in a country that I've never seen represented before. The South Georgia and South Sandwich Islands. Yes, that is a real place. Look it up. He is classed in P9. And from Mark Padgett, who after another rocky day, he still walks away with the top 10 at the end of it all here, Jeremy.
Joining us from Germany is Kyle Ammon, finishing there in 11th. Kirk Mills, a co-worker of ours, finishing in 12th. Tim Phillips comes home in 13th. 14th goes to Tanner Marty. 15th goes to Daniel Llewellyn. These drivers, let's see, Noah Woods, he was the 16th finishing position. He was the last driver on the lead lap. Alec Wineland, one of those drivers on that playoff bubble, comes home in 17th, 3 laps down. Charles Vasquez, 18th. 19th goes to Matthew Boston Wheeler. 20th goes to Joey Beck.
And looking through the final few cars that we have classified at the end of this race, Hunter Truex with a rather wild race. The 10 of Edward Scherer Jr. with a wild ride. The same could be said about Jonathan Delaney. Cody Warner at a wacky race. He actually picks up a disqualification at the end of it all as a result of hitting that 21X limit. Jonathan Delaney, as I said, finishes in 24th. Connery Cunningham in 25th. Steve Benjamin, my apologies, in 26th. Dave Hoytsman, Austin Evie ran into very early difficulties, and that ran that. The drivers actually took the start here in this race. But that's how it shakes out here at the end of this round of the championship. I think we could look off into some interviews, and the first driver that I want to have a chat with is going to be our P3 finisher at the end of this race, the driver of the number 57 of Cameron Stone. Now joins us here in the broadcast booth. Cameron, welcome in P3 at the end of this race. Happy to talk us through that race at the Glen.
Well, obviously this thing did not go to plan. Started on the outside pole, and then me and Lucas Hoytsman got into it in the bus stop on lap 1 and got a slow down penalty. Basically had to pull off a track and give up 10 spots. So after that, it was just a fight to see, what strategy I could pull off to try to get the track position back, and kind of followed Bryson on the pit road there in the last stage. I was hoping a caution would come out, but we got real lucky at when it did come out, because I think we ran 2 laps under green before the caution. So me and him cycled to the front, and after that it was just to see if we could hold the guys with a little bit fresher tires behind us. They'd been a little bit faster all night. I know Blake and John and Lucas were real fast, but John and Lucas got in some trouble on the restarts, and so Blake and Adam were the ones that survived.
And I want to ask you about the challenges of this race here at Watkins Glen. We outlined it earlier on in this show, kind of how difficult of a track this is. But from your side, in the cockpit, can you talk us through some of the difficult parts of running here at the Glen?
Well, I think the toughest thing for me tonight was the S's. I don't know if it was tire wear, dirty air, or what it was. Maybe the wind was changing direction during the race, but some laps you'd come off of that curb after turn 1 and enter the S's and it would stick and it felt fine. And then other laps you'd make that right hand turn and it would just slide sideways. So yeah, the S's was a spot where, if you had to lift to make it back to the left-hander, which I guess you'd call it turn 3, going back up the hill, if you had to lift right there, you're pretty much cooked. Like, everybody's going to pass you going into the bus stop. So, yeah, the S is real crucial. The bus stop, you can make some time, but pretty much everybody was having good bus stops tonight. So, yeah, if you can set a car up to run the S's in no matter what the wind conditions are, you're going to have a good one at Watkins Glen.
Well, it still worked out pretty all right for you. P3 at the end of this race. You already had a win a little bit earlier on this season, that coming at the race at Charlotte. So entering the final 3 rounds, you won't have to worry about playoff cut lines or anything of the sort. So I want to ask you what the agenda is as we approach the end of this regular season.
Well, right now, I didn't make a lot of races at the start of this year. And I really wasn't planning on running full time in this series, but I won the race at Charlotte, which qualified me for the playoffs, and I have to make 12 starts in the regular season to be eligible for the playoffs. So we got 3 rounds left, and I have to race 2 of them to even be in the playoffs, even though I have a win. So just making sure I show up, get as many points as I can along the way. I don't think I'm gonna catch many of the guys that have been running, the whole time. But if we can back into a win or a stage win here or there to get some playoff points, that's basically the goal at this point.
And looking ahead to next week's race at Daytona, I can imagine that is probably more terrifying of a prospect than this race was here at the Glen. So what are your thoughts heading there in 1 week's time?
I love plate racing in this car. I really am not a fan of the way it's turned into in the new Cup car, but I always like plate racing. I got some pretty good buddies here in the league, and we work well together and, getting on and off pit road under green flag. So I think we'll have some good stuff for Daytona. Looking forward to it. I guess, some guys look at Daytona as too much of a wild card and they get nervous about it. I just say, I'm probably going to wreck, so let's just go have fun until it happens.
But certainly looking forward to that race in 1 week's time. I gotta say I'm with you on the way the Cup cars run on plate tracks outside of Atlanta. See, my problem is I'm usually broadcasting on the nights of most races nowadays, which is why I watch more baseball than I watch motorsports nowadays. But that's neither here nor there. But Cameron, well, I'd like to give a thanks to shout outs before we let you go and get some practice in for Daytona.
Yeah, shout out to the boys on Team Conti. Built another good set for us this week. Shout out to Nick Ottinger building them things. Adam Benefield running same stuff. I want to say Blake might be on some TCSP stuff as well. So Team Conti had a really good showing tonight. Shout out to Bryson. He ran a good race. His whole left front was taken off, and I think he still came home 4th. So good job to him. Shout out to any of my family or friends that are watching. I told my uncle to check it out. If Uncle Rob's in the chat, shout out to you. Gonna go have me some Coors Lights and probably run some Cup Series practice for tomorrow night's race. Yeah, appreciate you guys up there in the booth, and we'll see y'all next week.
And thank you for joining us as well here in the broadcast booth, man. Always good to have a chat, and looking forward to seeing you out there on the track at Daytona next time man.
Appreciate it, buddy.
And that right there is the number 57 of Cameron Stone, your P3 finisher at the end of this race. Let's have our P2 finisher of Adam Benefield. And Jeremy, I'll let you have a chat with him.
Yes, we will. We've got Adam Benefield in that number 83 Team Conti setup shop machine here. Adam, welcome up here once again. You've been up here several times this year. You definitely looked like you might have had something there for Blake there at the end. What else did you need to make that happen? And did you think you could get him?
Well, first off, you can call me Adam SVG Benefield from here on out. We didn't get to run any laps this week. Was late getting to the track because we had to stop at a Buc-ee's on the way up to the track, and so it was about 15 minutes before qualifying. Didn't know really what to do. Didn't know where I was to begin with, and kind of just figured it out as I went, and tried to kill Bryson on a restart. That failed. And shout out to Kevin King because I had to text him to figure out how to free it up, and he told me what to do because I don't know how to adjust anything on a road course car, and it woke the car up. And all of a sudden, we looked like we knew what it was doing out there. So, yeah, the car was great. It was fast, almost as fast as Xfinity Internet. But I think I see Rick in chat really cheering on the 40, and I'm gonna tell you, Rick, I was really trying to bust your bubble and not let your son win. But maybe next time. No, he did a great job, man. I didn't have anything for him, and that's what we were talking about in the infield care or the debrief room or whatever. Every time I'd finally give up and I'll take second, he'd slip up, and then it'd motivate me to try to get back after it again. So I don't think we had anything for him. Come to find out, we were on the same setup. I didn't even know that. So we were. I see the broadcast, SVG. I love it. But no, we're static. I really was just trying to get a top 10 tonight and to come out with P2. That was nice. So we'll take it.
You took all the words and all the questions I had for you right out of my mouth. You did a great job on your interview there, Adam. Congratulations on a second place finish. Definitely going to help keep that momentum running when the playoffs are just around the corner. Your thoughts when we go into the next week?
I don't know where we go.
I believe it is Daytona.
Oh,
Daytona.
freaking crap. Jesus
Daytona
Christ.
in 2 weeks, actually.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, anyways, who do you got to thank for getting you here tonight?
I just everybody at Team Conti Sim Performance, Bobby and Bryson for putting this together this Friday night deal. It's really fun. You guys for broadcasting. Congrats to Blake on his debut win. That's pretty cool. And yeah, we'll look forward to it. By the way, just a heads up, Blake said he is terrified. He has no idea what to talk about, so y'all help him out and give him some good questions so he can answer.
Absolutely. Sounds good, Adam. We appreciate the time. I'm sure we'll talk to you here in the near future.
All right, bud. Thanks.
Have a great night.
And that right there was Adam Benefiel, our P3 finisher at the end of this race. And if it makes Blake feel any better, as a commentator myself, I sometimes don't even know what to talk about. We'll drag Blake in to have a quick little chat. Our winner at the end of this race, Blake Coa, joining us here in the broadcast booth. Blake, welcome in. Congratulations on your win here at the Glen, on your series debut nonetheless. How was it out there?
It was fun. Glad to be here. All I got to say.
Alrighty, fair enough. I'll tell you what, man, that number 40 was on rails all throughout this race. Adam let us know, Adam Benefiel said that you and him are actually on the same setup. So I want to ask how that car was feeling here tonight.
I felt good first 2 runs, and then I got some damage at some point, and it started feeling a little weird. But other than that, it was running great.
The car was looking good all throughout tonight, even with some of the drama that was going on all throughout this race, whether it be the strategy chicanery, whether it be some of the yellows that came out, especially towards the end, just worked out well for you on series debut nonetheless. I was saying, right as we saw you burn it down at the end, that you had joined the Discord server like 5 days ago on Monday, I think it was, of this week. So very odd series of events to go from joining the series to winning in your debut. It must feel pretty good, man.
It was great. Just glad I have the P1 racing guys behind me. We ran a lot of practice this week. Gotta win. So hopefully not the first or not the last. Shit.
And the P1 car is certainly in P1 all throughout this race as well. Looking ahead to next week's race, though, at Daytona, are you going to be out there on the racetrack for that one? And if so, what are your thoughts heading off to it?
Yeah, I hope to be there. And hopefully get another win.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the driver that you beat to get the victory was one of the only multi-time winners, back-to-back winners from this season in the form of Adam Benefiel. So, hey, may have the opportunity to join some very elite company in about 2 weeks' time, Blake. But thank you for joining us here in the broadcast booth. We'll let you give any thank yous or shout-outs before we let you go and celebrate.
I just got to shout out P1 guys, my dad, God. That's about it.
There you go, man. All righty. Well, thank you for joining us here on the broadcast booth, Blake. Well done on the win, and looking forward to seeing you out there on the racetrack for more races to come.
Thank you, man.
And that right there was your P1 finisher, Blake Cloa, joining us here in the broadcast booth at the end of a very exciting night of racing action. You know, Jeremy, from us seeing a new race winner from this season, winning on debut nonetheless, to the absolute insanity that we saw at certain points in this race as well. Watkins Glen truly did not disappoint. Final thoughts before we wrap things up.
I've got to say it was a huge surprise here tonight for a road course. Definitely had a unique challenge to it tonight. These drivers, though, did a great job. It gave us a great finish, and it was awesome to see somebody with their first start come out there and grab a win. Excited for next week at Daytona because we know that's going to be a chaotic one.
Yeah, Daytona for the next round of this championship. Certainly going to be rather hectic. It caught me out a couple times during those interviews, and I will remind you folks as well, the next time you'll be able to see this series will be at Daytona. That will be on August the 22nd here on Maconi Entertainment. Next week, we will not be running the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series because the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series will not be racing. Instead, you'll be able to see the action from the latest adventures of Jeff Maconi's boot camp. There'll be an ARCA race at USA International Speedway, I believe, this upcoming Friday. But that doesn't do it for the action here on Maconi Entertainment. Of course, coming up tomorrow evening, you'll be able to see the action from the FLCC at Watkins Glen. More Glen action will follow with the Racers Elite special event coming up at 11 a.m. on Sunday afternoon. And actually, no, that's not afternoon. That is still morning at that point in time. Late morning for that broadcast. And then the Door-to-Door Sim Racing League will run at Watkins Glen later on that night as well. The FF1600s will be running their strength of field race at VIR this upcoming Monday at 3:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Racers Only Trucks will run at IRP, and of course you'll be able to tune into all of the action here on Maconi Entertainment. Just hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the racing action. But as for this broadcast here, for race number 23 of the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series here at Watkins Glen, that will do it. So for myself, Ron Mullins, Jeremy Briggs joining me in the commentary booth, and Howie Burrows doing a wonderful job working on the cameras and the graphics and the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into this broadcast here on Maconi Entertainment tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.